Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. This is story about what if Kyuubi gives Naruto a Dijitsu part 1. Before I start, please do support for more amazing content and comments for part 2. Do consider to subscribe my channel and share my video to your friends and check out the description as well. Let's start the video. It was a cloudless night in Konoha, the village hidden between the leaves. Everywhere you looked you could see destruction. A few hours ago the village was attacked by a monstrous entity called a Bijou. This Bijou happened to be the strongest one, and went by the title Kyuubi no Yoko, nine-tailed fox. The stench of death rested heavily in the air around the ninja village and its inhabitants who were busy counting the dead. The beast was defeated by the one ninja the village called Yandame Hokage, fourth fire shadow, Minato Namikaze, by sealing it inside a blonde newborn baby. The preliminary death count had just came and delivered to the council presided by the same Dame Hokage, Sarutobi Hiruzen, third fire shadow. The council was assembled to determine the newborn's fate. "Burn him! Burn the demon! He injured my husband and killed so many others," screamed one white-haired but young woman. "Counselor Haruno, for the 15th and final time, we are not gathered here to decide if to execute the boy, but to find a good solution about his placement. If you can't get this through your thick head, then stay silent, leave or be executed. This is your last warning." And with that the aged Hokage released a lot of killer intent, almost making the woman faint. But she wanted to protest until two Anbu, one with a Rhea dragon-shaped and one Inu dog-shaped masks appeared from the background shadows and moved their blades near the neck a hair's width from the skin. "As you can see, my word will be respected in these proceedings. Besides, I can give you 3 good reasons to ignore your requests. One is that Minato desired for this child to be seen as a hero and jailer of the Kyuubi and not as the demon incarnate. You disrespect his sacrifice to this village and to you indirectly by trying to have this boy killed. 2 would be the fact that the civilian council has no power over military matters such as execution." And his words were interrupted when an aged but not too old man with white long hair, red paint marks on his face, and a huge scroll on his back split the doors open and stomped inside. "Jiraiya, what is the meaning of this?" asked Hiruzen. "I came to give you an even better reason, number 3. He then turned to the council. "Because if anything happens to this boy, consider me and my spy network an enemy of the Leaf," he proclaimed. The room was in an uproar. Why would one of the Sannin declare war on the village if something should happen to some random brat? "Jiraiya-sama, why would you go so far to protect this boy from harm? He is nothing but a monster," a random civilian council member protested until he was silenced by 2 kunai grazing each side of his head and a third near his jewels. "I will not let you accuse this boy unjustly like that," growled Jiraiya. "Unless you say that you are a seal master greater than Minato or myself. I examined the seal and it is flawless. Unless you decide to insult my students, your Yandame Hokage, and the world's greatest Fuin expert's memory and the Shinigami, a freaking god, you will all shut up and be quiet unless you have a good idea about this child's care or are spoken to," yelled Jiraiya with loads of killer intent, knocking out 2 civilian members. The Sannin coughed to clear his throat. "Now that discussion is over, let us get back to the matter at hand. This boy needs a family to care for him. Will anyone here take the boy to be raised?" Everybody turned their stare from the aged Hokage, until one old man who looked more like a mummy than human with his bandages covering part of his face, one eye and having one other arm wrapped around his waist in bandages, raised his hand. "No, Danzo, I will not let you have the hero of our village to turn him into a mindless killer. He is destined for greatness, and will not become a pawn in your schemes." Sandaime stared at the old war hawk when this one lowered his hand and clicked his tongue. He then looked at the other members of the Konoha Council, and was utterly disappointed. "Is this the behavior befitting of the villagers the 4th gave his life for? I am too old and must still look after this village, and my wife is dead, but my heart weeps that I could not take him in. Jiraiya must maintain his spy network as this village's one and only spy master. Now tell me, what is your excuse?" The old fire shadow growled at the people in front of him. Hyuga Hayashi was the first to answer. "I understand, Lord Hokage, as I too would love to take the boy that my closest friend Minato proclaimed a hero. But in my household he would be tortured by his peers and he himself would not understand why, not only because of the Bijou but also because of our eyes. I honestly apologize to both you and Minato." The head Hyuga then sat down after bowing deeply. "Understandable, as with all clans who poses Kekkai Genkai or secret jutsu," said Hiruzen, turning towards the civilian part. "Do I even need to ask?" The counselors still looked away and were silent. "Well?" Sarutobi screamed. They all shook their heads. The Hokage let out a sigh. "Then I have no choice. The boy shall be placed under the supervision of Danzo," was flashing his eye grin when Hiruzen finished the orphanage. The war hawk jumped on his feet to say, "Hokage-sama, you can't be serious. He must be properly trained to control the beast within him. The boy shall be trained. Danzo, the mummy's eye widened. If he chooses to join the academy at the right age. I will not argue this further with you. Stand down, or I will charge you with treason and insubordination. The old man was on a roll with Danzo, who sat down at the sound of that warning. I declare this meeting and its discussions highest S-class secret. You will not be allowed to talk about it under penalty of death. Also, this category of secret is that no one will ever be allowed to speak about the contents of the boy's seal except myself and the boy himself. This meeting is adjourned, declared the Hokage. Inu. Yes, sir. The AMBU with the dog mask appeared in front of him. Take him to the orphanage and sign him under the name of Naruto Uzumaki. Hi. The AMBU took the boy and disappeared. Almost 4.5 years later, a small blonde child was running away from an angry mob, dashing under fences and jumping wherever he could. However, he was still a toddler running from a mob led by shinobi. The child had gotten away from the civilians, but one of the said shinobi, a chunin, shined in front of the boy kunai at the ready. The boy pleaded with his attacker to leave him alone. Please don't hurt me. I didn't do anything. Don't try to trick me, demon. You will pay for the lives you have taken. The man fired a kunai just when 2 swords slashed his neck and abdomen horizontally. But it was too late, as the kunai that the chunin fired sailed through the air and impaled itself into Naruto's chest, missing his heart by 1/1000th of an inch and causing heavy damage to his lungs and arteries. Shit! Exclaimed the dog-masked Anbu. Ryu, we got to take him to the hospital. These wounds are bad. He ordered. Hi! The dragon accepted it, and they both vanished, taking to the roof. On his way there, Naruto drifted to his subconscious. He woke up in a sewer completely healed and wondering where he was. He then heard a low growl coming from a corridor he was in. Deciding to follow his instincts, he let himself find the voice by following the red and blue pipes that connected into what seemed like white boxes before splitting again into more red and blue pipes. He followed the biggest ones until he reached a massive chamber with golden iron bars that had a strange character written in their middle. Oh, how Naruto wished he could read. Come closer. The darkness behind the bars ordered the boy in a low and soft growling type of voice. He did so until he was a few feet from the bars. Then out of the darkness 2 red eyes appeared that looked like they will burn into your soul. Who are you? Asked Naruto, as if he was mesmerized by the strong eyes. To you or me, those eyes would have spelled evil right away, but the boy was no stranger to hiding your feelings even at such a tender age. He saw something else in them, sadness and regret. All of a sudden, a figure stepped out into the light that looked like a gigantic fox. Take a guess. It answered and flashed his tails in the air, 9 in number. The boy's eyes widened and he lost the shade of color in his face. Kyuubi no Yoko. That's right, Kit. The fox smirked. Where are we? And why are you here? The Yondaime Hokage killed you. The boy calmed down and asked. We are inside you, Kit, in a place called your mindscape. It is a place in your mind where we can meet and talk. As for your second question, think about it. I am an eternal bijou with more chakra than your village's citizens combined, shinobi included, even Hokage. How could one ninja kill me? The fox answered Naruto with boredom written on his face. Naruto was shocked by the truth of his situation. He didn't kill you. He put you inside me. The correct term is sealed, and yes, he sealed me inside you, well, half of me anyway. He took away my in or spiritual chakra to keep my will from influencing you. The Kyuubi was a little angry at the Hokage's transgression, but also carried respect into his eyes at the recollection of the memory. Not that it would do much good. I know how his people treat you, Kit. Release me and let's have our revenge, snickered Kyuubi. No. I don't want revenge, I only wanted to know why they treat me with fear and hatred. I don't want to destroy the village. How could I be Hokage without Konoha? Smiled the blonde, but his expression changed immediately to an emotionless one. Why? Naruto asked, looking at the huge fox but not at his face. The beast raised an eyebrow. Why did you attack Konoha years ago? What did the village do to you? The boy completed his question, staring directly into his prisoner's sight. Hee, well, I was bored and wanted to have some fun. The fox grinned at Naruto. There was a moment of silence from the kid as he stared at the shallow water at his feet, with his bangs shadowing the top part of his face. Liar! Naruto whispered. What? The bijou asked. Naruto jerked his face up with pain in his sky-blue eyes. I said you are a liar! Yelled the boy. Don't lie to me. I can see the regret in your eyes when you think about that day. And I saw the pain when you lied. The blonde started sobbing with half-closed eyes, and I can also see that you are not evil at all just. The fox dropped his smile and launched a claw at the child through the bars that stopped near his face. Why did you stop your claw? You had enough space, and if I die in here you will have my body and be free. Naruto stopped sobbing and was looking with compassion at the Kyuubi. This shocked the fox bad as he started stuttering. I don't. See. You are not evil, you are just in pain. Why? The boy was concerned for his prisoner. Now the silence came from the fox. Why do you care, brat? Asked the fox, trying to hide his own insecurity. Because I know how bad it hurts when nobody cares if you are hurting. Nobody deserves that kind of treatment, bijou or human, nobody does. Naruto answered sincerely. The bijou was thinking something deep as the top part of his face was shadowed and his eyes were closed. You remind me of somebody I knew a long time ago, Kit. He was also a kind busybody who could read the pain in one's soul. If you don't mind me asking who? The kid tilted his head slightly with a cute and curious look. The original shinobi and my father. The sage of six paths, the bijou answered as a tear fell down his cheeks. He was also a person who cared for the sufferings of others selflessly. He created jutsus to help the suffering and the weak, and as a result of his battle with my mother, he created me and my 8 other brothers. Naruto listened to the fox in wonder. My mother was a titanic demon called the Kyuubi, 10 tails. It rampaged across the countryside, leaving destruction in its wake and causing pain and suffering to all that it came across. The old man could not stand this and battled the monster until it appeared as if it was winning. With a flash of genius, the man created a seal and became the first Jinchuriki, human sacrifice, or a human with a bijou sealed inside of him, but it was powerful, and so near his death he used an incredible technique and split its chakra into 9 others, one of which created me. The blonde was sitting lotus style on the wet floor of the sewer prison and was absorbing the knowledge of this story. Before he passed on, he told us that we were born out of the Kyuubi soul, but we could follow the right path. Kyuubi felt sorrow drown him. I'm sorry, old man. I let you down, he cried, looking to the ceiling. No, you did not, yelled Naruto. Wake up. Who told you that? Who made you think like that? Naruto screamed as loud as his lungs could let him. People have used us as tools of war for a long time, Kit. You weren't my first host. I just let their anger and greed leach into me and lost my way into darkness. I failed. The fox was looking depressed. So? When you hit the bottom, there is nothing to do but climb up. Snap out of it, damn it. The past is history. You have a whole future to make amends and change. If you admit defeat so easily, I will personally kick your ass back onto the right path. You have my word. And I never go back on my word, for that is my ninja way. The boy yelled at the fox with diamond-hard resolve. Kyuubi looked at him in wonder and shock. Flashback. An elderly man stood in front of a young Kyuubi and his other tail brothers. He was the sage of 6 paths, founder of the ninja world. The kind man was giving them his final words, and between them was the line. And unlike when you were within me, you will be lead down the right path. Flashback end. Kurama. He whispered. What? The blonde asked. My name is Kurama. And with that he gently stretched a claw through the bars. Hee hee. It's nice to meet you, Kurama Nai-san. I am Naruto Uzumaki, the future greatest Hokage. The kid grinned and touched the claw. Both he and Kurama smiled. Naruto woke up in the hospital ward with his chest bandaged and a little painful, but not too bad. He remembered his talk with Kurama and how he told him that he will protect him the best he could, and if he ever wanted help, he would gladly give it. He also showed Naruto how to access his chakra. That's when they both got a surprise. Flashback. Okay, Kit, close your eyes and look deep inside of you. You should feel it as pure power coursing through you. Found it, answered the blonde. Grab it and don't let it slip. Pull it up as you return from inside your mind. Alright, here I go. And after 2 seconds, Naruto opened his eyes and found himself swirling with bluish chakra. Great job, Kit. Why? The fox was surprised when the child's blue chakra started shining white as all the squares on the walls of the mindscape started glowing in the same way. What? What's going on? Naruto got a little nervous at his Nai-san's reaction. Well, I'll be. Looks like you got Ranpu, light, chakra capabilities, kid. Congrats. I haven't seen that in nearly 400 years. Strange though, It usually appears in people exposed to poisons or diseases as it has strong purification abilities, but my chakra should have kept you safe from th of course, my chakra. Kurama was acting strange while explaining the strange light to Naruto. What's wrong? Is it bad? The kid was getting worried. No, kid. It's just that the Ranpu chakra in your body manifested as a result of this seal leaking my chakra into your system. If taken without my approval, it is highly corrosive and dangerous for any human, but because it was a small amount over time, your body adapted to turning your yin chakra into Ranpu element as a safeguard against my yang chakra that got transferred to you without my help. Cool. So what can it do? The child was getting excited. Like I said, it has powerful purification abilities in the form of energetic radiation. You can heal any disease and neutralize any poison in your own body as well as other people. Besides that, it gives you control of any form of light or radiation. Plus, it can energize your whole body or specific body parts to work better. I think I even remember a few jutsu using light element, and you don't have to do training to use them since your body can produce it naturally instead of you willing your chakra to change into it like normal elemental jutsu. Try directing some chakra to your eyes and after that send some to your brain. Kurama explained. Naruto struggled with it at first but then got the part with the eyes. When he opened them, he was shocked as he could see his Nii-san's chakra pathways as clear as day, and also his outline seemed filled with spots and covering the whole spectrum from red to blue. He could see all details in a way that would make a Hyuga green with envy, as well as a whole lot of things and energies that he didn't see or notice before. That, Naruto, is called the Shinsugen no Jutsu, Eyes of Truth technique. It lets you see in the dark, see chakra and chakra pathways. Also thermal vision, and judging by your expression, that is what you are seeing now in me. You see hotter spots from orange, red or white for the hottest, and blue, violet or black for colder. Also you can see X-rays and gamma rays, and that lets you see through walls. You can also see in a perfect sphere around yourself and amplify natural light to zoom to any distance proportional to your chakra quantity and control. It also makes you very resistant to genjutsu or any kind of illusions. It is believed that this was what caused the birth of the Byakugan, though nobody knows for sure. Naruto got that part down and got to sending Ranpu chakra to his brain. Everything slowed down, even him. This worried him a little and caused him to release the technique. I see that you tried the Sojin Seishin no Jutsu, mind purification technique. It accelerates your thoughts as well as clearing your mind of unnecessary thoughts. It gives you the same mental steadiness as a master monk's as well as a good amount of extra thinking time. Also you see everything slowed down, so you will have a detailed view of every action, giving you time to plan your next move or analyze a fast situation or jutsu. Just like the previous jutsu, it's limited only by the quantity of Ranpu chakra you. The kid was excited that he could do something so awesome, and was wondering if Kurama knew anything more. Unfortunately, the fox couldn't remember anything more except that he could purify another person by placing his hands directly on the skin of that person and pumping pure Ranpu chakra into that person. Flashback end. 2 months later, on the 10th of October, was the festival celebrating the Yondaime Hokage's defeat of the Kyuubi, and coincidentally it was also Naruto's birthday. And what a birthday present he got! He was kicked out of the orphanage, the caretakers saying he was old enough to live on his own. And by live, she really meant and hoped die. For the next 4 months and 3 weeks he managed to survive, during which, when he fainted from hunger, he was found by Ayam and her father Tuchi and given his first ever bowl of ramen. Besides saving him from death, he fell in love with the stuff. They also notified the Hokage, who turned the caretakers at the orphanage into weekly practice dummies for Ibiki, also known as the sadist, head of the torture and interrogation division, and Enko, his second in command. Sarutobi also gave Naruto an apartment in the slums, as this was the only place that accepted him. Later that day he went to the woods to train his Shinsugen and Sojin Seishin. He was making good with this since Kurama stopped sending his will with the Biji chakra that leaks into the boy due to the seal. This cured his chakra of instabilities since the blue one stopped fighting the red one, giving him a boost in stamina as well. The blonde then noticed a small girl 150 feet away from him, using his Ranpu-empowered eyes, about to be attacked by a bear. He took off in her direction to help her, but when he got close enough to hear her, he saw a beautiful woman rushing to her side. She was dressed in a light sky blue kimono with white rose patterns on it. She had silky dark blue hair that reached to her waist, with 2 bangs on each side of her face. And what he noticed the most was the fact that she had the same milky white eyes that the little girl had. But her eyes had pupils compared to the girl, and some veins were bulging out around them. She ran towards the bear at high speed, and Naruto activated his 2 Ranpu jutsu on instinct and watched how she got into a stance with her feet spread apart, left in front of right. Her left arm was stretched a few inches above the left foot with the palm facing the sky. Her right arm followed the same line that her left created and was higher above her right leg since her torso was bent towards the front. The boy noticed that in each of her hands, the index and middle fingers were grouped together, and were stretched more than the others. He also noticed how chakra formed a sort of sharp tip or needle on the tips of the said fingers. The woman then leapt at the bear, yelling, "Hack Rokujian Sho, 8 trigrams, 64 palms." Naruto's eyes widened as she saw her hitting the bear's tenketsu, chakra points. He knew about them because Kurama told him all about the chakra system during one of his visits to his mindscape. 2 points, she said, and struck 2 tenketsu. 4 points, and struck another 2. 8 points, another 4. 16 points, closing 8 more. 32 points. She hits 16 more. 64 points. She finishes with the 32 last hits. Naruto was mesmerized by the movements as they flowed with grace and power as well as speed and precision. If he didn't have his jutsusan, he would have seen only a blur, but with them active, the action was engraved into his memory. The woman then relaxed and her eyes lost their pupils, deflating the blood vessels near them. She then turned to her daughter. Naruto saw this and took it as a sign to scram. A week later, he found himself practicing in the same woods again. He didn't even notice it was late. In the village there was another festival to celebrate the signing of the peace agreement between Konoha and Kyuubi, village hidden in the clouds. There was a huge procession earlier as the head Kyuumo Nin entered in front of the cloud delegates. For Naruto this meant more noise, more smells of cooked food late into the night, and especially more drunkard avengers against the demon. He was resting a little with his Shinsugen active when he noticed an unknown presence sneaking into the Hyuga compound. He hid inside some bushes. Moments later, that same shinobi came out with a bag that contained the girl he saw a week ago. Kidnap, he thought. He jumped out of the bushes, Shinsugen alit. "Let her go," he commanded. The shinobi was a little surprised, but then he noticed that he sensed no other presence nearby. "Get out of my way, brat," he returned. Naruto growled a little and then launched forward. "I said let her go," the boy spoke, jumping to punch at the guy in the face. The man simply evaded and sent a strong kick to Naruto's abdomen that caused the boy to spit blood and fly 15 feet away. "Kit, use my power," Kurama urged the boy. The blonde then felt a huge amount of power surge through him, and his body flashed with a thin aura of orange light. He then kicked his feet and blasted at the kidnapper with incredible speed and hit a pressure point that paralyzed the man, making him fall limp on the ground. He then checked on the girl, and when he noticed she was unharmed, he let go of his Nii-san's chakra. Naruto then coughed blood and lost consciousness, falling face first into the ground. Just then Hayashi ran out the house and knelt near the 2 children, and 2 Anbu appeared near. "Hayashi-sama, are you alright? We felt an unknown chakra spike somewhere around here." The cat-shaped masked Anbu asked the Hyuga head with a woman's voice. The man answered back, "I felt the same spike as well, but when I awoke I activated my Byakugan and saw this boy fighting this man. I rushed out to intercept them, but by the time I got here both had passed out," said Hayashi, pointing at the 2 while making sure his daughter was alright. "Isn't that Naruto? I know him because Hokage-sama has me guard him sometimes," the cat Anbu mentioned. "The unknown is still alive. I don't know if that boy was lucky or aimed for it, but he hit a pressure point near the right shoulder and paralyzed him. He will come to in about 2 hours. And he reached for his mask. He pulled it off. It was the Kyuumo head Nin." "What was Naruto doing fighting him here?" Cat asked. "Wait, Nico, Cat. I can smell knockout drugs," said the second Anbu who had a wolf mask. "What?" Cat was surprised. They then checked the pockets of the Kyuumo Nin and found a small bottle filled with liquid as well as a handkerchief that gave off the smell. All 3 of them looked at the sleeping little girl and said in unison, "Kidnapping." Then Cat said, "What's wrong with the boy?" Hayashi activated his Byakugan and looked at the kid and then answered, "He appears to be exhausted, has some internal injuries to his right lung and a broken rib that are already healing. It doesn't seem serious. I will bring this boy inside my compound to be looked after until he heals. You should take that scum to the TNI HQ." He then went inside the house. "Hi!" They both answered in unison and picking up the unconscious shinobi and disappeared. The next day Naruto awoke inside an expensive futon and an unfamiliar house. He jumped out of bed and noticed a sharp pain in his side. He was also found out that he was dressed in an expensive-looking sleeping robe made of silk. Then the memory of last night's fight came to him and figured out that his pain was caused by a kind of injury. "Don't worry, Kit. I will have you patched up by noon," the fox reassured him. "Nisan, do you happen to know what happened to me after?" "Sorry, Naruto, But when you black out, it cuts my connection to the outside world as well. I see. Then there was a knock at the door. Naruto-sama, are you awake yet? A soft woman's voice asked behind the screen of the door. Yes. Could you please tell me where are we? We are in the Hyuga compound main branch house. If you can, will you get changed and follow me? Hayashi-sama wants to see you for breakfast. Sure. The blonde looked around but couldn't find his clothes. Sorry, but could you please tell me where can I find my clothes? Your clothes have been sent to be washed. As soon as they dry, they will be delivered to this room. Until then, feel free to use the clothes on the table, she answered. Thank you. Naruto got dressed in the white silk kimono with a high-quality black sash that was on the table and walked out the door. He then saw the woman standing in a kneeling position, Saiza if I'm not mistaken. She was fair but not what you would call a stunning beauty, but she radiated a calming sensation. She had the same milky white Byakugan as the rest of the Hyuga and was dressed in a simple yet expensive-looking kimono with a dark blue sash and had a long piece of white silk covering her forehead tied in a cute bow tie to the right of her head highlighting her dark blue hair. Follow me please, she said after getting up. Would you mind me asking your name, miss? Naruto said a little shaky, still nervous for being in the compound. Yukihime Hyuga, but you may call me Yuki, she smiled. Nice to meet you, Yuki-san. He bowed his head slightly. She did the same. Moments later they arrived at a large door, and Yuki said, Hayashi-sama, Naruto-sama has arrived. Send him in, Hayashi answered. She opened the door and Naruto entered. The door closed behind him and the boy noticed that he was in a big dining room with Hayashi in the center of what looked like a group of old Hyugas. Except that to the man's right stood the same woman that defeated the bear, and to his left stood what looked like a clone of Hayashi, only that he was wearing a Konoha Nin's Hitaiite headband. Naruto stood standing 2 steps away from the door. Kurama had taught him proper etiquette when dealing with nobles. One of the rules was to never do something if they don't invite you first. Please sit down and eat. The head Hyuga invited Naruto. Thank you, sir. Naruto bowed and took a place at the table, but before he ate he had to ask something. Thank you once again for inviting me, Hayashi-sama, but I must ask, why are you doing this for me? He asked, hoping he wasn't rude. Is it that odd for a father to offer a meal to his daughter's rescuer? You are only 5 years old and yet you have received internal injuries fighting for my girl's safety. I would like to thank you and offer you a room to stay here until you recover. Naruto blushed and looked in his lap until he hears a kind and loving voice. And I would like to thank you as well. You risked your life for a complete stranger, and that is a very commendable action, said the beautiful woman next to Hayashi. It was nothing. Forgive me, but who are you? Oh my, forgive me, I forgot to introduce myself. I am Hinata-chan's mother. My name is Hyuga. Just then she was interrupted by an old man at the end of the table. Never. I will not allow that demon spawn to desecrate our clan's name even if I die fighting. And with that he charged at Naruto with his left hand forward and his right cocked back. Naruto activated his Shinsugen, Sojin Seishin, and drew on the Biju's chakra, barely dodging that man's Juken strike. Shit, he really is trying to kill me. There is only one thing I can do now, and I do hope it works. The blonde jumped back and flew through an open door into the Hyuga's backyard. He then proceeded to stand still with his eyes closed. The old man came charging at him, ignoring Hayashi's orders to stand down. He then fired a palm full of chakra at Naruto. Naruto spun on his heel and avoided that strike, surprising everyone present. He was 3 feet away from the old man when he opened his eyes, and they were shining with an intense white glow. He then bent his torso towards the elder Hyuga and spread his legs, left forward with his arm above it, palm to the sky. The right side was a mirror image of his left, with the mirror being the boy's spine. The elder seemed to be frozen in place from the sight. A green yin-yang circle appeared with both of them in the middle of it, at the center of other concentric green circles. The blonde then said in a voice that lacked emotion, "You are within my reach, Hak Hyaku Nijuhachi Sho. 8 trigrams 128 palms." He then gathered Kurama's chakra to energize his body and blasted the senile old Hyuga's non-vital tenketsu. 2 strikes, 4 strikes, 8 strikes, 16 strikes, 32 strikes, 64 strikes. By now the old man was backed against a wooden training post that was being cracked by the intense chakra that went through the old man. 128 strikes. And with the last hit, the massive wooden post was destroyed and the elder sent flying to a wall, cracking it as he hit. He then fell limp and panting. After confirming his opponent's defeat, Naruto relaxed, allowing the Biju's chakra to recede. This made him wobble and pant as the strain of this energy on the boy's young body was a little too much for it to handle. Then he heard a thud. The blonde turned around and saw a lot of stupefied Hyuga besides Hayashi and his clone kneeling over his collapsed wife, both of them calling for a doctor. Naruto gathered what remained of his stamina and jumped to their side. "What happened to her?" the boy said as he dragged himself to Hayashi's side. The man was holding his wife's head as she was unconscious, breathing hard and sweating like she had a bad nightmare. "My wife has a sickness that causes her internal organs to poison her body, and it only gets worse whenever she is stressed or excited. The birth of our second daughter Hanabi made it worse to the point that she can die from just about anything that causes her surprise or upsets her. I tried to protect her the best that I could, but this event might just be." The apparently emotionless man felt a tear dripping down as he closed his eyes and bit his lip. Naruto was torn up inside by this news. Even though he was defending himself, he was to blame for this as well. And she was one of the few people that looked at him kindly and even appreciated him, and she was now dying, slowly poisoned by her body. "Wait. Poison? That's it." The blonde remembered something. "Kurama," he started mentally shouting. "What is it, Kit?" the fox responded. "Please. Give me all the power you can," answered the boy. "What's wrong?" "Ask me later now, please." "Okay." Naruto felt power rising up from within him. He started glowing, being covered by an orange aura that looked a lot like flames. Think chakra cloak, but make it more transparent and less obvious, making some of the Hyugas present take a step back. In one swift motion he exposed the collapsed woman's abdomen and placed his right hand on it and his left on her forehead. Hayashi almost backhanded him. How dare he disgrace his wife? Has this boy no shame? But the man then noticed the boy's hands glowing intensely white that made it difficult to look at them. The hands glowed even brighter, and the light extended from his hands, slowly covering the woman's body. Hayashi then noticed that the color in his wife's cheeks was returning, and her breathing was returning to normal. She was calming down. Intrigued by this change, the man activated his Byakugan and watched as the white chakra flowed through his loved one's body, removing any harmful substance from her bloodstream, energizing her as it passed through her organs. When this was finished, the woman lay peacefully asleep and Naruto passed out from exhaustion. "Nisama, honorable brother, what happened?" Hayashi's clone asked. "Hizashi, this boy that chakra cleaned my wife's body and strengthened her. I don't know how, but he purified her blood and saved her life. He passed out from the strain. Take him inside to rest and have someone watch over him," ordered the head Hyuga as he picked up his sleeping wife bridal style and took her inside the house. "Hi," Hizashi answered and moved to the boy, lifting him up in a similar manner. "I don't know how you did it, kid, but you earned Hayashi's gratitude twice now," he whispered to the blonde. The blonde responded, "Yuki-san." The man realized what the boy was saying. "Send for Yukihime and have her watch over this boy," Hizashi ordered, and the present Hyuga complied. 2 days later, Naruto was sleeping when he felt something cold and wet moving across his face. He opened his eyes and saw Yuki knelt down next to his head, wiping his forehead. "Hello, Yuki-san. What time is it?" he asked wearily. "Good morning, Naruto-sama. It is 9 o'clock in the morning. You slept the whole day after you saved Hayashi-sama's wife and the day after. I watched over you this whole time," she said with a smile. "Thank you, and I'm sorry for being a bother," said a slightly embarrassed Naruto. "It was no trouble, Naruto-sama," she answered to the boy, but her eyes clearly showed pain. "Liar! Your eyes are like mine, they show pain. Why?" The boy was concerned and saddened. The woman bit her lip and lashed her head at the boy. "Why do you care?" "Nobody does," she answered. The boy stood silent. "What do you know about pain? You are a child that does nothing but dream, play, and then head home where your parents feed you and read you a bedtime story. I'll tell you, you know nothing of true pain." The boy just bit his lip and closed his eyes, turning his face away. "I am a branch family member. We are servants to the main house." She then undid the silk cloth on her head and revealed a mark that looked like a swastika with hooks at the end and 2 horizontal lines on each side that had hooks on the ends facing the main part. "This is a seal that the main house members put on the branch families when we are young to keep our eyes from being used by non-clan members. It destroys our Byakugan when we die, but it is also used by the main branch when we get out of line. When they use this, it fries our minds with pain." Naruto looked at her with surprise and sadness. "You just saved my cousin's wife, thank you. She was always kind to us, but don't expect me to thank you for making the main house happy," she snapped. A short pause later. For all I care about that, you can go to hell. You. Yukiheim. A man's shout came from behind them. It was a very angry Hayashi Hyuga with his Byakugan activated. I came here hearing shouts from this room and find you insulting my daughters and my wife's savior. I think you forgot your place. He growled at her. She cowered away from him looking terrified. Please forgive me, Hayashi-sama. I didn't. Before she could finish, the man raised a half-seal and she fell to pieces in pain, screaming like she was on fire. Stop! Yelled Naruto as he tackled Hayashi to the ground, causing him to release his jutsu. Yukiheim fell on her hands and knees panting. Yuki-san! The boy ran to her and grabbed her shoulders. He then placed a hand on her forehead, and it started glowing white. Yukiheim felt the lingering pain disappear from her head, and then looked at Naruto. Why? After the horrible things I told you, why are you helping me? Ji-san says that you don't need a reason to help somebody in pain, and I agree, he said with a smile. Besides, I think I came to see you like a Nasan, though I'm not sure. I never had a family or even a home. I've lived on the streets for a while now, hiding from bad people who want to hurt me, until Ji-san got me a place to stay all to myself. Besides, I know what's like to carry a mark that you didn't deserve. Naruto said this with a smile and lifted his shirt, showing a lot of scars and the Kyuubi seal. Yukiheim gasped at the sight. Those scars showed a wide range of injuries, but a certain one caught her attention. It was pretty fresh and was the size of an adult's palm on the boy's right side. Naruto noticed this. That one I got about 3 weeks ago when, one night, a drunken shinobi hit me on the back of my head. When I woke up, I was tied to a post and had alcohol poured over me. The man was laughing hard and then snapped his fingers. Sparks came from them and lit the alcohol and me with it. He passed out after one more swig of his booze. I was lucky that he didn't use wire, and so the ropes burned and I got away only with that injury. It was one of the worst times. I'm usually only looked at with eyes of hatred or ignored. When that's not enough, I get chased, starved, kicked, stabbed, or beaten half to death, worse on my birthday. But this guy got creative, he said, smiling. It was only a half-truth. What he didn't tell her was that he could have gotten worse if Kurama didn't surround him with a chakra cloak, but it was too slow, and he still got burned. Yukiheim was shocked. She had a look of dread on her face that was worse than the one when Hayashi came barging into the room. This child suffered so much, and he still had the will to live. He was barely close to 5 years of age, and he had endured more than most veteran shinobi. Hayashi was boiling mad. His best friend's legacy, his wife's savior and his daughter's rescuer had to suffer so much, and he didn't know. Sarutobi is going to get an earful. Yuki then realized the truly horrible words she said to him, and jumped, embracing him. I'm sorry, Naruto-sama. I said all those cruel things to you. I didn't know. I'm truly sorry, she cried. It's okay. You didn't know. Oh, and stop calling me Sama, it makes me feel weird. He smiled, rubbing her back. Okay, Naruto-kun. The boy then got up and walked towards Hayashi, who was now standing. The man looked furious. Naruto then stopped 3 feet away from the man and bowed deeply. Hayashi-sama, I am deeply sorry for my actions earlier. I accept any punishment for them in exchange for Yuki-san being forgiven, he said with full honesty. No, Naruto-kun. Stop. You don't have to do that for me. Hayashi then dropped down to the boy's height and hugged the boy. Of course. Don't worry about that. There will be no consequences. Just then the door opened and the man's wife entered and saw the scene. She was surprised but quickly smiled. Hayashi-san, Hokage-sama is here and wants to talk to you about that Kyuubi shinobi that tried to take Hinata. Hayashi's face took on a light frown. Thank you, dear. I will go talk to him. Besides, I have a few extra things to talk with him. Naruto-kun, would you like to take a bath in the meantime? Oh, I will take him, and Yukiheim, would you like to join us? She smiled even more. My pleasure, answered Yuki. Naruto then said, I can do it myself, miss. Oh, that's right, I never got to introduce myself. My name is Hyuga Haruko, and I cannot let a child bathe by himself. Our baths are pretty big, and you could drown if you don't know where the deep parts are, she said to the boy in a kind, matter-of-factly way. Pretty, whispered the blonde. Sorry, what? She asked. I said that you have a pretty name. He blushed. Why, thank you, Naruto-kun, now let's go, she giggled. He nodded and followed both women to the bath. Hayashi then went to see the Hokage. When he got there, his brother Hizashi was already engaged in short talk with a man. I apologize for keeping you waiting, Hokage-sama, said the Hyuga head. No problem, Hayashi. I came here to tell you the situation with the Kumo ni Naruto caught. The aged Hokage answered. Ibiki said that he was a pretty hard nut to crack, but he eventually confessed to the kidnapping. He also said that the treaty was a cover-up to get a chance to take Hinata back to Kumo with him, and have her breed a lot of Byakugan shinobi. Hearing this, Hayashi shattered the glass of water in his hand, but his face remained emotionless. The Hokage continued. After we sent message to Kumo asking them what is the meaning of this, they responded accusing us of lying about the attempted kidnapping and also you of attacking and injuring their head Nin. They first asked for your head, and at the sound of this Hizashi, who was sitting at their side, cringed and whispered, bastards. Both Hayashi and the Hokage looked at him, but then the village leader continued but backed down as soon as they received the filmed confession from their ninja as well as the news that it was not you, but a 5-year-old boy was the one that beat one of their best shinobi. I guess they were quite embarrassed. All men in the room smirked. Sarutobi then asked, speaking of which, where is Naruto, and what is he doing? Making Hayashi cringe and answer. Hokage-sama, you don't need to worry about the boy. He is here and is now taking a bath with my wife and his attendant. We are looking after him. The Hokage smiled, which is not what I can say about your part. The Sandaime dropped the smile. What do you mean, Hayashi? The fire shadow asked. I mean, Hokage-sama, exactly what you heard. I just found out that he is tortured and that there are attempts at his life on a daily basis from the village. Weren't you supposed to watch over him, Hokage-sama? But I do, Hayashi. Then tell me, Hokage-sama, why was the boy nearly burned alive 2 weeks ago? Hiruzen's face went white. What? The Kage screamed. He told his attendant Yukiheim that, 2 weeks ago, he was tied to a post by an inebriated shinobi, drenched in alcohol, and set on fire. The Nin passed out from the booze and Naruto was left to burn. He was lucky that the ropes burned before he could die. And then I saw the unmistakable palm-sized burn scar on his body, next to others that showed cuts, burns, whippings, stabbings, brandings, and many others. And these are the visible ones. If he didn't possess what he did, he would have died a long time ago. Now tell me, Hokage-sama, how could you let this happen? Hayashi flared. Hizashi and Sarutobi felt like throwing up. How could that happen to a child? Hayashi, I knew about the attempts and had Anbu guarding him 24/7, but I didn't know that things were this bad. I love the boy like my grandson, the senior shinobi said. I have no doubt that you care for the boy, Hokage-sama, but it appears that not all Anbu are loyal to you. The head Hyuga then let out a sigh. I have decided to take the boy in, to train and look after him. My wife also fully agreed with this. The Hokage was surprised. But Hayashi, won't he be looked down upon here? Besides, how will you train him? He doesn't have the Byakugan. I don't think it will be a problem. The boy defeated a Hyuga counselor with a perfect hack Hyaku Nijihachi Sho, avoiding any vital points. Sarutobi nearly passed out. What? How? I don't know. But I can train him if he can see the Tenketsu. That is if I have your approval, Hokage-sama. Hiruzen got into a thinking pose for a couple of seconds and answered, I need to speak to Naruto first. Just then the doors opened and Haruko entered. Oh my, I'm sorry for interrupting your conversation. I thought you would be finished by now, she said with a gentle voice. No problem, I was going to call for Naruto anyway. How was the bath? Hayashi spoke. His wife giggled softly. He was very well behaved. I find it surprising considering that he is a boy. They usually run away from anything to do with baths. She looked at the men and they all blushed slightly in embarrassment. The only thing that disturbed me was when he asked if the water is hot all the time. The men raised an eyebrow. I asked him about the source of his question and he told me that at his apartment, the only time he gets hot water was between 6 o'clock and 6:05 a.m., and that he was always chased away from the onsen, public baths. Sarutobi's face lost a lot of wrinkles, frowning. But that wasn't the true shocker. I almost fainted when I saw his body, she said, looking to the floor. His whole skin was a canvas painted with scars. I then activated my Byakugan and noticed that all his organs had signs of past trauma, and nearly every bone was broken and healed multiple times. He is also slightly malnourished as a quarter of his ribs are visible through the skin. At his age they should not be like that, but he has absolutely no baby fat. I asked him if he was eating well and he told me that most of the time he eats only ramen since most stores chase him away, or they overcharge him for expired food. The Hokage was now clenching his fist so hard that his fingernails drew blood. Ibiki will be busy for a while. That shocked me, and so my illness began to accentuate while holding him in the water, with his back facing her. I nearly passed out, but he noticed this and used his power to help me. He started panting a little and then his stomach growled. I remembered that he had not eaten in 2 days, but he was still doing his best to help me even though he barely had enough energy to walk. I sent Yuki to bring him something to eat. When she came back with some sandwiches, he refused to eat until I would eat as well, saying that, and I quote, "Sick people should eat to get better." Oh Kami, how can this boy be so kind after all that has happened to him? I was curious and asked him, and he told me that he has 4 people he cares most about, and he keeps going for them. I asked him who, and he told me that they were me, Yuki, his Gigi, grandfather/old man. She glanced at the Hokage, who blushed and smiled, and another person who was a secret. He also told me that it was that person who taught him about manners, chakra and chakra system. It was also that person who always helped him and taught him the true meaning of being Hokage. He told me it is his dream to be, and I quote, "the Hokage greater than all others before him, even Gigi and Yondaime." After we finished bathing, I told Yuki to prepare Naruto-kun a proper meal. Everybody in the room smiled and nodded, with Sarutobi once again blushing. "Oh dear. I'm sorry for rambling on like this, but I thought that you should know this. I will take my leave now." She bowed. "Wait, Haruko. I want to see Naruto when he has finished his meal, and I want you to be here if you think you are able to stay," asked Hayashi. "Of course. Naruto-kun's power gave me a lot of energy," she giggled. Just then there was a knock on the door. "Haruko-sama?" "Come in, Yuki," the woman answered. Yuki came in and bowed. "I have come to tell you that Naruto-kun finished his meal per your instruction." "Oh dear, that was quick. Did those sandwiches spoil his appetite?" Haruko was concerned. "No, that was not the case. He finished everything on the table with seconds." Yuki and Haruko's sweat dropped anime style. "But there was enough food on the table for 7 people. He asked for seconds and finished them in 10 minutes? And now the men's sweat dropped. Hi. I guess the speed was in subconscious fear that the food will be taken from him. As for the quantity, I looked at him with my Byakugan and saw that it was absorbed by his system at an astonishing rate, slowing down as he finished the meal. What I can tell from this is that he has a variable metabolism that he can control subconsciously, but it doesn't surprise me anymore." Both women giggled and the men nodded and smiled. "Yuki, my husband and Hokage-sama wished to speak to him," Haruko told the woman. "Hi." And she left. 2 minutes later she returned with Naruto, who was dressed in a white kimono with black pants. He looked in the room and saw the Hokage. He got excited and ran towards the man. "Gigi." "Hey there, Naruto." The old Kage embraced the boy he saw as a grandson. Hayashi then coughed and said, "Naruto-kun, there is something important I wish to ask you, but first would you tell Hokage-sama and me what you told Haruko and Yuki before and in the bath, with details?" The boy nodded and started telling the whole story with even more details while staying in Haruko's lap with their hands touching, occasionally flaring his Ranpu chakra to keep her healthy. And that was a good idea because the story was much more gruesome than they originally thought. Naruto told them that ever since he could remember he was looked at with eyes that saw him as something less than human, that the first memory he had was a punch from his orphanage caretaker, that every 2 or less weeks he is chased and half the times he gets away, but when he gets caught he is starved, humiliated, robbed, punched, kicked, mugged, slashed, stabbed, burnt, crushed, used as target practice for jutsu, though rare since it alerts shinobi of chakra usage, and many other horrible actions that are too painful to remember, until the ANBU come but sometimes are late, or they never appear. The women were tearing up and embracing him tight. The men were boiling with killer intent. "Oh, Ibiki will be busy indeed. Naruto, why didn't you tell me about any of this?" The old man was furious. "I didn't think it was a big deal," said the boy, a little frightened by his Gigi's reaction. "It was a big deal, Naruto. You could have been killed each time," yelled Sarutobi, making the boy shiver and back up into Haruko, who noticed this. "Hokage-sama, please calm down. You are scaring the poor boy," she said with motherly love, tightening her hands around the blonde, reassuring him that he was safe. The old man then looked at Naruto, who was still shivering a little bit. "I'm sorry, Naruto. It's just that I care for you and I don't want you to suffer like that, and neither did the Yondaime Hokage," the man said, rubbing his forehead. "It's okay, I know. I just thought that I did something to make them mad at me and didn't want to upset you too," said the boy. Sarutobi felt his heart split in two. "From now on, don't keep things from me like that, okay?" he said, smiling at Naruto. "Yup." The blonde showed his foxy grin. "Other than that, what can you tell me about these abilities of yours, like what they do and who taught you how to manipulate chakra?" The man gently smiled at the boy. "Kurama and I-san did. Oops. he said, looking away. What's the matter, Naruto? Who is Kurama? The man nervously asked. Am I not supposed to tell anybody? The kid fidgeted. Why is that? Well, every time somebody mentions about it they get shushed immediately, saying something about a law, Naruto said matter-of-factly. The temperature in the room dropped a few degrees and all the people in the room began looking like ghosts. Naruto, the Hokage, broke the silence. Is Kurama the Kyuubi no Yoko? The Hokage wearily asked. I told you I'm not supposed to talk about it. I don't want to break the law, the boy said, lowering his chin into his chest but keeping his eyes on the old man. The old man's foot dropped. I know about the law, Naruto, and you and I and anybody else who you tell are allowed, so come on, is it the Kyuubi? The old man hoped not, but Naruto nodded, much to his displeasure. Naruto, that demon is evil and dangerous. You should know better than to talk with it. He could. Hiruzen shouted but was interrupted by the blonde. Stop it! Don't be mean to Kurama and Isan. He is not bad. He helps me all the time while you don't even know about me being beaten. You don't know anything about him. Naruto snapped at the man, making him jump in surprise and a little shame that the boy was right about him not knowing about torture. But Naruto, if he isn't evil, why did he attack the village last time? The Hokage asked, more rhetorically than curious. About that he said he was really sorry because he couldn't stop himself. He said he was under a Genjutsu or something like that. Genjutsu, corrected Haruko. Yes, Genjutsu. He was under a Genjutsu, and when he woke up he was already being sealed. All he remembered was a creep in a mask with an eye that was red with a strange pattern. He called it Eternal Manjingu or Manjikyu Sharingan. Dear Haruko corrected again with a little amusement at the mistake, but she was still a little unnerved by the boy's words. Yes, Sharingan. Eternal Manjikyu Sharingan, and after that he blacked out. He told me he was sealed in somebody else before but couldn't remember who. Anyway, he was still sealed inside that person when the creep with the mask appeared before him, and then poof, he was inside me. Naruto, answered the man. Sarutobi Hiruzen felt like he lost a couple of his few remaining years. If this was true, it meant that not only an Uchiha would be responsible for the destruction from 5 years ago, but also that the fox was genuinely helping Naruto. Naruto, are you sure that he is not lying to you? The Hokage said in a softer tone. The boy nodded violently. He is not lying. I know how eyes of a person that lies look like. Excuse my rudeness, but I can vouch for that. He also saw through my lies. Yuki spoke, a little embarrassed. How can you tell, kid? Hisashi ached. Well, Mr. Hisashi, Hyuga the blonde was interrupted. Well, Hisashi-san, I always notice how most people look at me with anger and I try to stay away from them so they won't beat me. I guess I just got used to looking at everybody's eyes and try to figure out how they see me. From there I must have figured out how to tell lies. I can also see the pain when people are hurting. The blonde answered. How so? The man asked. Well, they look like mine. This made everybody flinch. So don't be mean to Inai-san. He's a good guy. It's just that he's lonely and misunderstood. And Naruto proceeded to tell them the story about the birth of the Bijou and the Sage of Six Paths, about how greed and ambitions changed the beast for the worse and how Kurama fell into despair and succumbed to anger. The people in the room were deep in thought. The story seemed plausible. That would mean that the Sage of Six Paths was real and that the beasts were his legacy. Naruto then froze in place with his eyes closed, making Haruko worry, as nobody else noticed this. After a while the boy opened his eyes. Gigi, Kurama Inai-san says if you take my hand and meditate then you can meet him yourself. Oh, and he told me that don't worry about the danger, you will only be a mental protection or something projection. Haruko was giggling that she was on a roll. Naruto continued, and that he is behind the seal. The blonde reassured the man. Hiruzen hesitated a little bit but then grabbed the boy's hand. He then closed his eyes and then started relaxing. He felt drawn into the boy and then found himself in a place that was slightly damp and dark. I looked like a small corridor with the floor wet by an inch of water and had pipes of red and blue that were connected by white cubes. He then heard Naruto calling for him. Gigi, over here. The voice came from one of the ends of the corridor that was illuminated and showed the boy's figure in shadowy outline. The man walked in that direction until he clearly saw a smiling Naruto. The aged man relaxed a bit. Nice place you got here, Naruto, he said with a bit of sarcasm and sadness. You should have seen it a month ago. It was a sewer, the boy responded. He then grabbed the Kage's hand and told him to follow. They walked towards the light and then entered a large illuminated room that had the same wet floor, but you could not see the ends of it except for 2 large golden barred doors that had a paper with the kanji 4 seal in the middle where the lock was. You could not see initially inside because of the shadows, but as you got close you could have sworn that on the other side was another dimension, as it had a grassy ground instead of the water that the blonde and the Hokage were walking on. "Ni-san, we're here," said a happy Naruto. "I see you brought guest kit." "2 of them." The Bijou smiled. Naruto and Hiruzen looked back and saw Haruko standing there looking confused. "Oh my, why am I here?" she asked, looking around a little dazed. "Haruko, did you by any chance close your eyes and relaxed when I was with Naruto in here?" asked Sarutobi, raising an eyebrow. "I guess I did. I can't help that Naruto-kun's power is so relaxing, and when you touched his hand he channeled even more," she said, smiling and looking a little red in embarrassment. "It matters not. If you are willing to chat, I will allow you to stay. From what I understood from the kit, you are a good person, one of his favorites," said Kurama with a smile, causing Naruto to blush and Haruko to smile even wider. "He is a very good and kind boy." She pulled the blonde closer. "Ahem." The Hokage fake coughed. "Excuse my rudeness, but I believe that we have more important matters to discuss." Everybody else nodded. "Now then, Kyuubi-san, I heard some very upsetting things from Naruto, but I wanted to confirm them for myself. If you don't mind, would you tell me what you told the boy, the short version, about the Sage of Six Paths and the night you escaped?" he said with a serious face. Kurama nodded and began to tell him everything he told Naruto about his birth, a little bit about him growing up but nothing important, and of course, about the event of Konoha's destruction on the day the boy was born, with a little bit more detail as follows. "Naruto, do you know when a female host seal is the weakest?" asked the fox. The boy just shook his head from side to side. "It is when she is pregnant, with its weakest being when she gives birth," he answered. "What does pregnant mean?" asked the boy, earning a sweat drop from everybody else except Haruko. "It means when a woman has a baby in her belly," answered the woman while smiling. "Ah, I remember now," answers the boy, whispering the last sentence. "Now don't you ask how babies are put there," said an embarrassed Hokage. "Don't need. I already know. Not interested into that stuff, at least not yet from what I found out," the boy said with a straight face. "Oh, and how did you find out?" asked Haruko in a gentle motherly tone but with a hint of extra curiosity. "The same place I learned what pregnant means. Gigi should learn to hide his smut better." The blonde let out a sigh and earned the Kage an ice-cold glare from Haruko. The old man gulped but was saved by the fox. "As I was saying, my last host had just given birth and the seal was weak. I wanted to get out and run away. I had no intention of destroying anything," the Bijou answered with sadness. "But then that masked bastard projected himself inside my host, made me go mad and broke the seal. I don't remember anything from then on until I was inside Naruto." Now Kurama presented a little bit of rage. Hiruzen was scanning the fox's expression for lies but did not find any trace of it. He had experience with this, as he had to be on his toes as Kage of Konoha. It was either the case that the fox was telling the truth, or he was a master liar, but the man decided to go with the first, considering that Naruto also trusted him. "So that's all you remember from the time you escaped Kushina-chan's seal, Kyuubi-san?" the man asked wearily. "Yes, and call me Kurama. If I ever find the fox responded, but was cut short by the blonde. "Nisan's previous host was someone named Kushina?" asked a curious Naruto. Sarutobi and Kurama froze. The tongue slip put the old man into a difficult situation. "I remember that girl," answered Haruko. "She was such a hothead. I guess that's why she had red hair." She giggled. "What do you mean, Haruko-san?" the blonde asked. The woman continued. "Well, she was tomboyish, had red hair and a really nasty temper. I remember that when she first transferred into our class she was first called Tomato because her hair and because she was a little chubby, and was laughed at." The other humans in the room looked a little gloomy. Naruto knew it was wrong to laugh at others, and Sarutobi remembered her. But then it got worse until one day half of the class cornered and started making fun of her, and she beat the hell out of them, Haruko said with a smile, causing the rest to shiver, even Kurama. From then on she was called the Kaichishio no Habanero, red hot-blooded chili pepper. I think that her name was Kushina Uzumaki. Yes. That was her. I remember now that all my Konoha hosts were Uzumaki. I remember she was expecting you, Kit," he said, smiling. Down below things were looking bad for Sarutobi. Sarutobi was sweating like a waterfall. "You knew," was all the boy could say. His face was covered by shadows except for his mouth. "I'm sorry. I didn't think that I did it to protect you," Hiruzen was looking for a good way to tell the boy. Why didn't you tell me? I did it to protect you, Naruto. Your mother had powerful enemies and you would be in danger. We couldn't let them know that she had a son, you would have been in danger. The Hokage was desperately trying to calm the boy. He watched as tears fell down the boy's cheeks. Kurama could feel his emotions but decided to stay silent. And the fact that I am the only Uzumaki in the village is very discreet, he said, making the Kage grab his head as he realized the mistake. Who was my dad? Naruto asked in a muffled tone. I don't know. The man put on his best poker face as he answered. Who was my father? The boy asked louder but not screaming. Naruto, I really don't know. The village leader started sweating. Don't lie to me. Naruto looked up with teary eyes and blazing white pupils. Why are you lying? Why aren't you telling me? Do you know how many times I went to sleep while crying? How each night I think that my parents hated me. That they gave me to the yondaime to seal the Kyuubi in me and then left me to die. Do you know how bad it hurt to see every other kid has a parent, or even someone that cares for them when you are forced to dine in a dumpster? Do you? The boy broke. Hiruzen was close to breaking down. He couldn't believe what went on inside the boy. I asked you countless times about my parents, but you didn't know anything. I didn't know if they are dead or if they left me to die. Now tell me, why do you still hide them from me? The old Kage's knees gave way as the echoes of the boy's words hit him time and time again. He fell on his bottom, with him still looking at the boy who wasn't angry at all but was deeply sad. I tried to protect you, Naruto, from both the council and foreign affairs. Both your parents had powerful enemies that would have stopped at nothing to kill you if they found out that you were their son. Please, Naruto, understand that I did the best that I could to help you, bowed the man. I will ask you one more time? The blonde could crush rocks with that stare. Sarutobi closed his eyes and said, Minato Namikaze, the fourth Hokage. The boy's eyes went wide for a moment, and shut closed after sobbing silently. I know that I caused you so much pain and I know that I failed you, forgive me. The Hokage bowed deeply. I forgave you a long time ago. I resolved that if you knew and didn't tell me you had a good reason not to, answered Naruto, causing the Kage to look back to him. But know this. You told me once that trust is gained hard and lost easily, and that to gain trust you have to give even more back. The boy closed his eyes. You didn't trust me to know who my parents were, you didn't trust me to keep their identity secret. If you told me to keep this a secret, they could have roasted me slowly and I wouldn't have talked so as to not disappoint you. Screamed the boy, making the Kage start crying. Today you have gained my forgiveness for this, but you also lost my trust, and it will take a lot to get it back, Hokage-sama, said Naruto, turning his back to the old man while he was stretching his arm out as if he wanted to grab the boy. Those last words fell on the man's heart like a ton of bricks. He was no longer Jiji, no longer Naruto's grandfather. I understand, Naruto. I let you down and I deserve that, but please do not hate your parents. They loved you more than anything and they wanted to see you grow up, but they died, impaled by Kurama-san's claw. Kurama looked down and away. Naruto turned back with a smile. Hate them? Why would I want to hate them? Everybody else blinked twice in confusion, anime style. They died protecting me and the village and gave me a friend and brother. They were great people that I can look up to. Just wait, Hokage-sama. I will surpass you and Dad, and then I will come for your seat. I promise you that, he said, raising a fist in a kind of straight punch motion. Kurama mentally renewed his vow to protect and help Naruto. The Kage said that he will be waiting, and Haruko gave him a motherly kiss on his cheek that made him blush. Also, Hokage-sama, I want my dad's jutsus, Naruto said in a serious way. Hiruzen got into a thinking pose. Now that is a problem. I can give you the scroll for the jutsu, but it might be stolen from you or fall into the wrong hands. I know you are strong, but you are not strong enough to protect it, said the man, with Naruto first pouting a little but agreed to the man's logic. The boy heard stories about how powerful the Hiraishin and Rasengan were and knew most people would die to get them. It didn't help that he was the demon brat, and that was a world of trouble alone. But I'll do better. I will have my guards teach you the Hiraishin and some other exercises secretly. They were your father's guards and they know it, but you will have to adapt it to yourself. Also, you are not allowed to use it until you are genin. Promise me that, said Sarutobi, and the boy promised. As for the Rasengan, I don't know anybody who can do except Jiraiya, your father's sensei, and he is out of the country for the next 5 years. I will see if he wants to teach you when he gets back. Deal, the boy said. You should get back. An hour has passed already and the people outside might get worried. Be careful, youngster, you lost the kid's trust, see that you do not lose his faith into you and Konoha, said Kurama, and the Kage nodded with full resolve. Everybody, before we leave, I must tell you that what we talked about tonight about the Uchiha and Naruto's parents is a highest S-class secret. Naruto, you are allowed to tell anyone you like about your parents, but please try to keep it secret from all but your most trusted people, or you will be in danger. I know it is tempting, especially when you are teased by others, but think of this as shinobi training. Shinobi are entrusted with secret information all the time and must not reveal it except to certain individuals. Also, Haruko, you may reveal what happened here to Hayashi, but do so in a secure zone, and tell him that revealing this is penalized by death. Understood? Both Naruto and Haruko nodded and then turned to Kurama to say goodbye. Also, Nisen, why do you call Hokage-sama youngster? He questioned, and both Hiruzen and Haruko looked at the fox. Kid, he may be old by your standard, but I have lived for centuries. To me he is little more than a toddler. Sarutobi's sweat dropped and smiled, and Haruko giggled. Then I guess I should call you Kurama Ji-san, hee, smirked Naruto. Why, you little newborn baby? Kurama answered, smiling. Very original, everybody else thought, sweat dropping. Bye, Nichan, smiled Naruto. We will meet again, Kit. Hokage-sama, please snap out of it, yelled an ox-masked Anbu. The old man returned from Naruto's mindscape looking a little worse for wear, but recovered fast enough to answer to the call. What is it, Ox? Asked the Kage as if he'd just woken up from a nightmare. Thank Kami you are all right, sir. I came to inform you that the council has called for a meeting to discuss the Kyuubi situation. It has already started, said the Anbu, kneeling on one foot and with a fist touching the ground. Naruto was just coming to and was listening to the conversation with interest, forgetting to shut down the chakra to his eyes. I see. I must get to them immediately, but I also have something critical to discuss here. What to do I know, said Hiruzen, smiling in surprise of his idea. The aged Kage got up and put his index and middle fingers from both hands in a cross shape and yelled Kage Bunshin and no Jutsu, Shadow Clone Technique. Instantly another Hiruzen appeared near him. Hayashi, I am sorry to leave on such short notice. I gave Haruko permission to give you all the information that I have acquired here, but note that it is an S-class secret punishable by death. I will leave my clone here to talk to instruct Naruto on some small things like Kage Bunshin and no Jutsu, like Kage Bunshin no Jutsu and various. Sarutobi stopped his matter-of-factly style speech and froze in place, looking at Hayashi, who had his eyes as wide as a saucer's and was sweating lightly. Hayashi, please tell me it is not like what I think is, begged the frozen Kage, /n on a stick. I am afraid I cannot lie, Hokage-sama, said the man, dropping his head and closing his eyes. Hiruzen let out a sigh and turned around to see 10 identical Narutos smiling at him. Hey Hokage-sama, this is so cool, all boys said at once. Hayashi noticed the change in the way the boy addressed the man, and while he was happy that the blonde was giving the proper respect to the village leader, he couldn't help think something was wrong but kept his curiosity to himself. Naruto, how did you? The Kage was stopped by the Anbu. Hokage-sama, the meeting, we must go now, said Ox, who was just as curious but kept his cool. The Hokage let out another sigh and left with the agent after saying goodbye but leaving his own clone behind. Naruto, when and how did you learn that jutsu? The clone Kage asked. Just now, and since I forgot my Shinsugen no Jutsu active and saw you do it. Normally I would have to practice to get this right, like with 8 trigrams 64 palms and 8 trigrams 128 palms, but this jutsu was pretty easy, and remember that in the original Naruto learned this jutsu from a scroll with nobody to show him how, tired after running from shinobi, and in a couple of hours, and now he saw how chakra moved. He has a little better control and saw an example in front of him. Naruto, are you alright? Asked the worried old man. Sure. Why wouldn't I be? The boy cocked his head to the side in a cute manner. Because this jutsu is a B-class kenjutsu that can kill you if you make too many clones. Even I become tired if I make that many clones. It takes a lot of chakra out of you, the Kage answered. Oh, then it's no problem. I saw with the Shinsugen that I have more chakra than most ninja with those green vests. I think that they were called Chunin. Also, an Aichan fills my chakra when I use mine, so I don't get really tired unless I use it too fast or in one go, he said with a smile. The old man lost a lot of Wind Sai and Ji today. They are called Chunin, Naruto. And if that is the case, I will teach you how to use the jutsu properly, but promise me don't go overboard with these techniques, at least until you get your Hitite. The man asked Naruto, giving up trying to argue with the boy. The blonde happily nodded. I'm serious, Naruto. If you feel even slightly winded, wait for Kurama-san to fill you up again until you use it, unless it's in life or death situation. Promise me, the man said, grabbing the boy's shoulders. I promise on my Nindo, he said with a very serious expression and dispelled the clones. That was as good as a lethal blood seal placed on the kid. He never went back on his word when he promised, even more so when he did it on his Nindo. Ahem, forgive my disrespect, Hokage-sama, but I wish to ask the boy how he learned my family's advanced taijutsu moves, asked Hayashi. No problem, Hayashi. I'm also curious. Then they turned to Naruto, who was still holding Haruko's hand but was now standing up as her legs fell asleep with the boy sitting in her lap, so he wanted to let her recover. Naruto told them about the event 5 months after his birthday when, while practicing Sojin Seishin and Shinsugen, he spotted Hinata about to be attacked by a bear. He was about to jump in to help her when he saw Haruko floor the beast with the 8 trigrams 64 palms. My jutsus were still on, and I was able to see how she did it. It was like a beautiful and deadly dance. I tried to do it myself and got it down in 4 days. The boy flashed his foxy smile. After I got the basic movement, I just upgraded and finished just as that bad man was taking the girl, he said with a cute expression between pout and anger. Hiruzen was wiping the floor with his jaw. Hayashi was about to slap himself to wake up. Did this child just learn one of their most advanced moves in 4 days without instruction or background and recreated its more powerful variation in 2 other days? How much talent did this child have? He was even more convinced now to take in the boy for more reasons. One being that he could be a great addition to the clan's friend list, and the other being that he didn't want the boy to teach more ruthless people the Juken's fighting moves and weaknesses. Haruko, on the other hand, was blushing a little. After all, Naruto just complimented her movements that day and was also a little honored to have been the boy's first sensei, teacher, even if unofficially. She giggled, "Oh my, Naruto-kun, I'm not that good." "Yes, you are. You moved like a flower in the wind. If I wasn't using Sojin Seishin, I wouldn't have seen any movements. I was lucky," he chirped. Haruko blushed even further and hugged the boy. "Well remembered that one, Naruto-kun. That's how mothers get when defending their babies," she said, but realized the mistake, feeling the boy's chakra getting restless through her hand. "That's how I would like to be for you," she said, smiling at the boy, who instantly jumped up in surprise. "What do you mean?" The boy was still a little upset but was more than curious to hear her out. "Well, ask Hokage-sama, after he finishes explaining the shadow clone. I'm sure Hayashi told him what I mean." She put a finger on her lips, in a "I'm not telling" pose, and the other hand on the blonde's cheek. Naruto turned to Hiruzen, pouting a little but with stars in his eyes. "Ahem, as I was saying, Naruto. The Kage Bunshin is an advanced kenjutsu that is used mainly for espionage." The professor started his lecture, but Naruto raised his hand school-style. "It means spying, dear," answered a smiling Haruko, and the boy dropped his hand. The Hokage then continued, "It is used for spying because it creates an identical, that means exactly like the original, clone of the user. After it is dispelled, it transfers, that means it sends, the information it learns back to the user." He tried to explain it so that a child could understand but failed. Naruto was looking like a student the night before the exam with a "the fuck is this shit" expression. The Kage rubbed his temples. "Let me explain, Hokage-sama," chirped Haruko. "Naruto-kun, do you know what movies are?" The boy nodded. "Well, imagine that the clone makes a movie of what he goes through, and when you dispel it, that means stop using it and send it away. At that moment it gives you the movie of what he did, or learned, back to you so you can play it in your mind," she explained in a motherly manner. "Oh, so that means I get its memories when I disp send it away, right?" the boy said with wide eyes of understanding, looking at the Hokage. The men's sweat dropped, and Hiruzen asked Haruko, "How did you do it?" He said, disappointed in himself, that even though he was the professor, he had a very hard time getting through to the child. She giggled and answered, "You forget that I have a girl the same age and a nursing baby." The old man dropped his head between his shoulders. Being the Hokage, he had left his wife to raise their kids, so he was lacking in this department, but recovered quickly and turned to Naruto. "So do you understand the shadow clone now, Naruto?" The boy nodded. "Good. Now before we get to the main topic, I want to ask you about your abilities." He looked at the blonde with interest. Naruto told the man what Kurama told him about his Ranpu chakra and its offspring jutsu, the Shinsugen and the Sojin Seishin, as well as the chakra's restorative powers. "It is a wondrous power indeed," said Hiruzen, with Hayashi and Hizashi nodding in agreement. "It gives me an idea. Naruto, how would you like to learn medical jutsus?" The word jutsu immediately catches the boy's interest. "When you will be 7, I will have someone instruct you." The boy pouted at the fact that he had to wait, since you will be busy using the Hiraishin, as well as a surprise if you accept it. The boy tilted his head to the side and a question mark almost appeared on top of his head, causing Haruko and the Hokage to giggle. "Well, we came down to the main topic. Naruto, do you want to live here? Said the smiling old man with a little suspense. Naruto had a clueless expression and a crow flew in the background even though it was nighttime by now. He then looked at Haruko who nodded and then at Hayashi who did the same. I know that this may seem like a dream, but Hiruzen didn't get to finish because he saw Naruto in Haruko's arms sharing a deep embrace. I'll take that as a yes, said the Hokage. All right, I will make the necessary arrangements. I wish you all a good night, and Naruto, be on your best behavior. And poofed out of existence. Naruto got out of the embrace and walked towards Hayashi and his brother. He stopped 2 feet from their table and bowed deeply to the man. Thank you, Hayashi-sama, he said. The men smiled lightly but immediately went to their emotionless expressions. It was no problem, Naruto. I am sorry that my clan's laws and regulations forbid me from adopting you, but I can offer you a permanent guest position. But that is for the better, I think, since it will prevent some of the non-cooperative members of the clan to use the clan seal on you, said Hayashi, making his brother cringe a little bit. But please think of me as your father. I will also teach you the clan's juken techniques, he said, surprising Hizashi. But Hayashi-sama, aren't those techniques secret? Naruto asked. Well, there are some regulations concerning main family forms and branch family forms, but those do not concern you. Since the juken is only useful with the Byakugan, I guess nobody made rules concerning non-clan members, answered the man, with both Hyuga males smirking at the last part. Well, I guess you can. Hayashi was interrupted when by the door guard. Hayashi-sama, Hinata-sama wishes to enter, the guard announced. Send her in, the man responded. A little girl with dark blue short hair and the same milky white eyes as the rest of the family entered. To-sama, I understood that Ka-san was here and she wanted to continue, but then saw the blonde boy with whisker marks on his face looking a little dazed at her, but soon he smiled. This caused a little blush in her as she started to fidget. N. Hinata is a sheltered princess and has little interaction with boys outside her family. Yes, sweetheart? Her mother asked, but was clearly enjoying her daughter's response to the boy's presence. Hanabi-chan has been crying for some time now, and the caretaker doesn't know what to do, she said, still looking at Naruto with the corner of her eye. Meanwhile, the boy bowed to Hayashi after he told the blonde that juken lessons start tomorrow, and he will be training together with the little girl behind him. He approached her and waited for her to finish talking. Hello, I'm Naruto Uzumaki, and looks like we will be training together, he said, wanting to assume his father's family name but decided it was not the time, stretching his arm out to the girl. She jumped back a little and hid behind her mother, who giggled. Hello, I am Hinata Hyuga. She stuttered, still clutching to her mother's kimono behind the woman, showing only half a face. Now Hinata-chan, those are very bad manners. Come out from there and greet the boy properly, she said in a soft scolding tone. But Hinata tried to refuse but was forced by her mother's gentile hand and pushed towards the boy. Naruto stretched out his hand but she looked away, frightened. This made the blonde a little sad and he started to look away himself. He pulled back his hand and held it in his other hand. I see, I guess you don't want to touch me either, he said softly and with sadness in his eyes. This surprised the girl and made her feel like she did something wrong. Hinata-chan, Naruto-kun will not bite you. He is the one who got hurt saving you from the bad ninja that night, Haruko scolded, kindly and motherly. Hinata? The little Hyuga's eyes went very big in surprise, but then she took on a sad face as she understood what she did. She then lifted her shaking arm to the boy and said, Thank you. Naruto immediately flashed his foxy smile and gently reached out and grabbed the girl's hand. It was no problem. Hinata blushed like crazy until he let go. Haruko giggled and got up from her sitting position. Well, I'd better go check on Hanabi-chan. Naruto, do you want to meet Hinata-chan's baby sister? She said. The boy nodded and together with Hinata and her mother left the room after bowing to Hayashi and Hizashi, who nodded. Nisama, are you sure it's wise what you are doing? You will have trouble with the Elder Council, Hizashi asked his brother. Hizashi, I understand there will be difficult times ahead, but most of the council has seen what Naruto can do, and I think that the explanation I gave Hokage-sama will suffice. If not, I will remind them who is head of this clan whether they like it or not. That boy is very special and I owe it to Minato to see to this boy's well-being, and I think that having him as a friend of the clan will prove fruitful in the long run. Also, I expect you to support him however you can, seeing that he saved your life as well. Hayashi smirked at his brother while Hizashi raised an eyebrow. The Hyuga head then handed him a report scroll that Hiruzen subtly gave him that read. Report No 2765/H.87. Subject: Kumo Relations. After we secured a confession from the head ninja from Kyuubi that was caught by Naruto Uzumaki trying to kidnap Hyuga Hinata, we, the Konohagakure Council, demanded explanations from Kyumo's Relations Department. The results surprised us. They denied the attempt. More than that, they demanded retribution for breaking the head nin's diplomatic immunity rights. The details are as follows. They demanded Hyuga Hayashi be handed over dead or alive under threat of war. The situation was resolved when a videotape of the accused shinobi's confession, performed under no physical torture, was sent detailing not only that he was ordered to enact the kidnapping but also how Naruto Uzumaki, a 5-year-old child, defeated him without taking his life. End of report. Signed Marino Ibiki, head of ANBUTNI Division. Hizashi read the letter with dread. If Naruto hadn't caught the Kyuumo nin, then Hayashi would have to surrender to the demands of the cloud. But why did his brother claim that he was the one in danger? This caused him to raise an eyebrow at his elder brother. Hayashi let out a sigh. Hizashi, you know that if the worst happened I would have surrendered to their demands, said the man with his branch member brother, opening his mouth to say something but was stopped. But the council would have done anything and everything to stop that from happening, and knowing they would have most certainly killed you and let you take my place, and I know you are brave and foolish enough to accept that fate, he said, looking to Hizashi who was staring at the floor. Hayashi then smiled. Naruto-kun has done more than I could ever repay him. He has rescued my daughter from a fate worse than death, he gave my wife a chance at a normal life, and he saved my dear brother's life. I know that traditions forced us apart, and I cannot see you on equal footing and you cannot as well, but I still care for our bond. And Naruto-kun ensured that we will still be able to keep that bond between us. If that boy wanted my life I would gladly give it for him. Hizashi wanted to protest but couldn't, seeing the bare truth in his brother's words, but all that boy wants is a family, and to be Hokage. I believe that he can achieve it, and I will help him do so, and if that means I have to fight the council for that, then, those old farts be damned, I will, he said, making his brother chuckle. Meanwhile, in another section of the compound, Haruko opened a slider door followed by the two 5-year-olds. Inside was a Hyuga branch member gently bouncing a little baby girl, trying to get her to stop crying. Let me have her, Keiko, the Hyuga matron told the woman. I don't know what happened, Haruko-sama. 1 minute she was happily asleep and then she started crying. I tried feeding her, changing her diaper, rocking her, even singing to her, but nothing worked. Keiko tried to explain. It's alright, Keiko. Remember that sometimes babies cry for their parents. Haruko tried to calm the woman. She picked up Hanabi from Keiko's hands and started shushing her, bouncing her up and down and telling her that mommy is here. This caused the baby to open her eyes a little and look at her mother. That was all that Naruto needed to see something was wrong. Haruko-san, I think that she is in pain, he said, making the woman jolt in surprise and worry. I thought of something, he said, and approached the mother who was holding her breath. Since the room was heated, Hanabi was only dressed in her diaper. Naruto then charged Ranpu chakra in his index and middle fingers, making the tips glow a little. He then moved his fingers to her head, and she kept crying. Continuing down her throat, he went for both arms and got to the chest area, and Hanabi still didn't stop. He then went below the belly button, and that's when she quieted down, but was still sobbing. When Naruto moved his fingers, she took a second but started crying again. He then placed his fingers back and she stopped crying again. That's when it hit him. Her belly is hurting, he said, grabbing Haruko's arms and flashed his chakra to keep her in working condition. Oh, Kami! Exclaimed all females except Hanabi. Haruko quickly grabbed the baby's blanket and wrapped her in them while Keiko went to get some other things like her formula and stuff like that. They all dashed out the door and headed for Hayashi's office. Once there, Haruko barged into the room, ignoring the guard at the door, as he wouldn't have acted anyway. Something is wrong with Hanabi, she shouted, but not a whole scream. Hayashi was in his office with Hizashi finishing up the training program for Naruto and Hinata when his senses picked up on the fact that somebody was running towards his office. He and his brother braced themselves for anything, since running in the compound was unusual at night. The doors slammed open with Haruko panting and holding Hanabi, saying something was wrong with her. The man jumped from his position at the table and dashed to his wife's side. What's wrong? Asked the worried father. I don't know, but Naruto discovered that she has stomach pains, she said, and that was all that Hayashi needed to understand that the situation may be dire. Haruko, I'll take Hanabi to the doctor, you take Naruto and come to the hospital, he said, taking the baby from the woman's arms. But she wanted to protest, but Hayashi stopped her. Haruko, I can get there faster if I go by myself, and you know about condition. Trust me and let me take care of this, he answered. Nisama, I'll come with you, said Hizashi in a running pose a few feet behind his brother. Hayashi nodded and they both disappeared, taking to the roofs. Haruko got Naruto and Hinata, since she didn't want to be left out, and exited the compound in a hurry. They got to the hospital in record time and went to the clerk. Naruto was still holding the woman's left hand, looking fine and flaring his chakra every 10 minutes or so, while Hinata was holding her mother's right hand and was panting heavily. Haruko wasn't looking all that fine herself, since her illness meant a lack of exercise. The woman behind the desk looked like an angel in white until she saw the blonde and sneered at him. Haruko noticed this but left it for now. "Hello, my husband Hayashi Hyuga came earlier with my daughter Hanabi. Please tell me where to find them," she said in a panic. "They are with Dr. Mamoru, room 325 to the left. They got here 10 minutes ago," she answered the woman, but then looked down to Naruto. "But if you go to see them, please have that wait outside," she sneered again, pointing to the boy, making him look sad. A split second later, the clerk found herself pinned to the wall behind her desk, with Haruko's right hand grabbing her hospital coat and her left palm stretched in a knife-like fashion to her throat. The Hyuga mother had her Byakugan active and was giving a menacing, rage-filled glare to the hospital worker. "Do not call him that ever again in my presence, or any other for that matter," she growled at the clerk, but felt a calming wave as Naruto pumped a great deal of Ranpu chakra into her by grabbing her ankle. She then looked at the boy, who shook his head from side to side and was trying to pull Haruko away from the woman. Haruko then calmed down, released her Byakugan and lowered her hand from the woman's throat, but still kept the other on her clothes. "You're lucky Naruto is kind enough to forgive you, because I wouldn't have. And for the record, if he hadn't stopped me, your job would have been the least of your concerns." Haruko growled once more and released the woman, and, taking the two children's hands and going off to find room 325. They found it pretty quickly and entered it, finding Hayashi standing on a chair holding his sleeping baby girl, and next to him was a doctor that looked pretty young and with brown hair that was fixed to the back of his head by a clamp, and square glasses that sat on his nose. Picture Aizen from Bleach with the clamp. "Hello? You must be Hanabi-chan's mother, Haruko-san. I am Dr. Mamoru," the doctor said while smiling. The woman nodded and bowed to the man and then asked, "Sensei, doctor, teacher, how is Hanabi? Is she alright?" Mamoru smiled even more. "Yes, she is fine. She had a bowel obstruction in her small intestine that caused her pain. It wasn't serious yet, so we treated her with some light syrup medication that cleared her system. It is a common condition for kids this age, but I'm surprised you found out this so early on and didn't let it advance to a more complicated situation. Most parents can't tell the signs and bring their children in when the problems multiply, and if left untreated it can rupture the intestine and can lead to death. I guess having the Byakugan can help see things like this," he said, shaking his head and holding his hands in a "I don't really know" fashion. Haruko let out a long breath of relief. "Actually, we don't use our Byakugan at home except during the day for training or for special circumstances, privacy issues. All the credit for the discovery goes to Naruto-kun here," she said, and leaving the boy a little confused. So Hanabi-chan is alright?" He looked at the doctor. The sensei smiled and nodded while congratulating him for being a smart boy, making Naruto pump his fist and say "Yatta! Alright," but making sure not to scream seeing that Hanabi was asleep. He didn't know what a family felt like until now, but he did watch a lot of families with their kids in the park when he was homeless, and knew that you should not yell near a sleeping baby. But then Hanabi sneakily opened one eye and smiled at her father, who noticed this. "Naruto," the man called. The blonde came closer until he was less than a foot away. Hayashi slowly handed the girl to him while saying "That's it," gently and with both arms. "You're a natural boy," he said, looking at Naruto holding the baby. Hanabi then opened both milky white pupilless eyes wide, and then she squinted them. Then she closed them and started gurgling a baby's giggle, surprising the boy and making his face shine bright with kindness. Then both Hinata and Haruko came closer, and they shared a good family moment. The next day Hayashi called for a family council. Since they got home pretty late, he decided to let the children sleep in a little bit, so when he did so, calling for the council, it was already noon. The said council got assembled rather quickly, seeing that most of its members were retired elders that lived in the compound. "Hayashi-sama, why have you summoned us?" one council member asked. "I have called you to announce the fact that I am taking Naruto Uzumaki as my student along Hinata. I will also be allowing him to stay in a guest room of the main house with Yukihime as his attendant per her request." The news was like throwing a grenade in an oil tanker. It was all the council needed to start uproar. "Hayashi-sama, you can't be serious," yelled an older man. "He cannot be allowed to stay here," barked another one. "This is an outrage, Hayashi-sama," shouted some of them in unison. They all had something to say and were voicing their reactions between themselves until they felt a monstrous killer intent directed at them from Hayashi, who had his Byakugan activated. "Are you finished?" said the Hyuga head, still keeping an emotionless face and tone. "Aoi. You of all people, I was not expecting to oppose me so much." He looked at an elderly Hyuga. "But Hayashi-sama, that monster will ruin the clan's image," he expressed his opinion. Hayashi now frowned and retorted, "Aoi, do you know what the doctors told me 2 months ago about your daughter Haruko?" This made the elder back up a little. "They told me that she had at most 6 months to live." Hayashi now closed his eyes, but his Dijitsu remained active. "Last night Hanabi had a problem, and so, my wife and I took her to the hospital. After Hanabi was given the all-clear, we also went to check on Haruko's health. Do you know what happened? The doctors nearly fainted, claiming it was a miracle. Her body was slowly recovering, and they said that if this keeps up, she will be fully recovered in 2 years and have a normal, healthy body. And you know what? The doctors were right, it was a miracle. That miracle's name is Uzumaki Naruto. As you know, he has the ability to use 8 trigrams 128 palms, and that alone is a miracle. But this ability also has the power to cure your daughter, which it's slowly doing." Hayashi turned to the council, leaving the old man to pick his jaw from the ground. "Need I remind you that he saved Hisashi, my brother and leader of the branch family council, that he rescued Hinata, my daughter and your future leader, from a life as a breeding thing?" Hayashi now showed anger and disgust, "saving our clan's honor and Dijitsu at the same time? Need I remind you that?" He shouted at the men who were left speechless and looking away. For all of this, he should be an honorary member of the clan, but he's not asking for that. He's not asking for anything. Our clan members are seen as heartless monsters to the villagers of Konoha, and looking at you right now makes me think that they were right. This made most of the councilors cringe. "Are you willing to throw a child on the streets? To have him fend for himself?" he asked. But Hayashi-sama, what if the seal breaks and he merges with the you-know-what?" one last worried man said. "And you wish to hasten it? Besides, if it does, I'm sure the boy can control the beast." These words made the council raise an eyebrow at Hayashi. "And if I'm wrong, who do you think that he will come for first? If anger is what drives the beast, then, do you want to cause him more pain?" The men and women of the council looked pale. Most of them were already convinced of the boy's good intentions and worth before they even began talking about Kurama, but now they were petrified of the outcome of the worst situation. "I want to give him support, to help him fight off the beast if needed." This was not even up to debate. "I entertained your childish antics and came out very disgusted and disappointed. I will tell you again, Uzumaki Naruto will be my student and guest. Do you understand?" And received honest nods from them. "Good. Then this meeting is adjourned." And with that he left. It had been 8 months since that fateful meeting. Haruko had told Hayashi about the S-class secret meeting with Kurama and also let slip the story about the hospital clerk. In the background, Ibiki was grinning wildly. Naruto was now practicing his Juken with 100 shadow clones. He had 50 clones spar between themselves, 30 to practice the more advanced moves, 10 to practice the basic katas, and 10 to walk among the other clones, observing the actions from afar and, in the case of those practicing the katas, to correct what wrong movements they saw. The boy was already the best fighter in his age group, and could even give Hayashi a run for his money when they were fighting only with skill and not chakra, having used this training method for nearly a year and 4 months now. He first used it with Hayashi-sensei. Long flashback. Hayashi was in his family dojo in a Seiza position with Naruto and Hinata mirroring him. The dojo was a traditional one with wooden bamboo floor and paper and wood walls. The boy was dressed in an Aikido karate mixed-style gi with white top and black pants, and with his wrists and ankles bandaged, while she was wearing a black bodysuit. "Naruto-kun, for 3 months now I have been teaching you and Hinata the basic katas of the Juken. I want to see how far you are in to master them. I want you and Hinata to have a light spar right in front of me with no Byakugan or Ranpu abilities," said the Juken master, Hayashi, earning 2 eager HAI from both of them. Naruto then put his hands in a clone seal and created a shadow clone. Hayashi raised an eyebrow, but Naruto said that the clone will not interfere with the fight, but wants to make it watch so he can see his own mistakes from an outside viewpoint, asking for permission as well. Hayashi smirked and nodded in approval, and the clone moved to a safe distance and sat down like Hayashi. They quickly got into position and bowed, got into a basic Juken stance, a backslash and look it up on the net. "I am too lazy to write," and waited for the go from Hayashi. He let the tension rise a bit, and saw that Hinata looked away for a bit, but Naruto didn't even flinch. The Hyuga man raised his hand and they both lowered their head. He then flicked his hand down, shouting, "Hajime. Start." Both kids engaged in a blow-for-blow exchange with one another, with Naruto being the better of the two until Hinata, avoiding a palm strike to the face, bent her body in an unnatural way and hit Naruto with a leg sweep, making him lose balance and fall face first towards the ground, but he did a hand flip and recovered fast, and went for the attack again, with the girl still avoiding him in ways he didn't believe the body could move. They stood still to regain their breaths, but they had their guards up. They both charged forward for the finishing strike, but before they could deliver it, a loud clap was heard, bringing them both to a halt. "That's enough. To me," Hayashi ordered them to come with an emotionless face. Training was the only time the kids saw the traditional image of an ice-cold Hyuga. They understood for a while now that even though he was harsh, his training methods worked, and he would sneak a smirk now and then when he was praising them mentally. They both came panting to their master and sat down Saiza style in front of him on the dojo floor. The man then closed his eyes and began speaking. "Hinata, your movements were terrible." This made the girl frown a little, but she knew what her father really meant. He really said that there is room for greater improvement. Naruto helped her with these translations 2 weeks ago. You focus on moves that need power and speed that you lack. You still need more training. Rest now because you will spar one more time, finished the man, turning to the blonde. "Naruto, your movements were textbook perfect but shows signs of heavy repetition. You have been using Kage Bunshin to practice, right?" Earning a nod from the boy, "and so you lose the mental flexibility and creativity that comes from combining different moves. Keep in mind that a powerful Juken user is only as strong as his mind is. When using the Juken, a simple poke that nobody knows you can do can be more devastating than a perfect strike to the heart when everybody knows it is coming." He pointed out to the boy, who nodded with eyes filled with resolve. "Assume your positions," he ordered them again, and Naruto dropped the bands. Naruto froze in place for a split second, looking surprised, but then started unraveling his white wrist and ankle bandages, revealing black bands that had a chain seal drawn in white on them, with the wrist ones having small reusable storage seals in the middle. Think of a wristwatch-like pattern. Hinata didn't look too surprised. Those bands were variable gravity bands that had accelerometer and force sensor seals that adjusted the gravity of them just above the tolerance level for the user, making him or her to never get used to them. "Hayashi-sensei, this was what the boy called him during training. How did you know?" he asked. Hayashi's expression remained emotionless when he answered. "Simple, you were panting just as heavily as Hinata." "Who gave those to you?" "An ANBU with a fox mask gave them to me 2 weeks ago. He said it was a present from Hokage-sama to make me strong. He said to never take them off no matter what," he honestly answered. Hayashi cocked an eyebrow. "And you didn't find it strange that Hokage-sama didn't give you those personally?" "I did, but I thought he was busy, so he sent an ANBU to give it to me. Plus I couldn't see his eyes to tell if he was lying because of the mask." Now the boy was getting a bit unnerved. The Juken master let out a sigh. "Naruto, that ANBU, if that's what he was, tricked you." "What?" said the boy in surprise. "I believe he gave you those bands to impede your movements if you ever went outside, so you couldn't run if they chased you." These words made the boy cringe and tighten his fists. But then Hayashi, in a rare training moment, chuckled. "Unlucky for them, thanks to Kurama-san, it actually had the effect of making you stronger," the man said, leaving a dumbstruck Naruto. "Now take them off, begin your spar, and you will see why." The boy complied, unzipping them from his wrists and placing them down near Hayashi. He then entered the Juken stance with Hinata doing the same. The man then shouted "Hajime!" again. What followed could only be described as a nasty experience for Hinata as Naruto dashed to the side in a blur, not impossible to see. Think of the anime fight between Neji and Naruto when he used the fox's chakra. That's how it seemed to Hinata, though it was not that fast, stopping within 10 inches in front of Hinata, landing a powerful palm strike to her chest that sent her flying backwards. He then appeared behind her before she even made it to solid ground, giving a powerful kick to her back that caused her to yelp a bit, and propelled her through the air, spinning from the waist. She managed to land with cat-like grace but was heavily disorientated and was a sitting duck. Naruto was running forward, leaving a streak of white and black behind him, and was ready to deliver her a double palm strike Kamehameha style to her abdomen, when another loud clap stopped the display and Hinata buckled backwards with the boy dashed in and caught her before she hit the ground, making her blush a little. "Naruto, bring Hinata over here so she can rest." And the boy complied with the order, laying her down near him and pumping a little Ranpu chakra to vitalize her. "See what I meant?" the Hyuga man asked the blonde, who nodded in response and was looking at his fists while flexing them, still a little surprised. "From now on you may wear those bands if you choose to, but you must take them off in life or death situations. That is an order." "Hi," answered Naruto. Then the man smirked a bit before looking at Hinata, who was sitting now. "Hinata, don't let this experience get to you. It was valuable in its own way," he said to the girl who nodded but was still a little sad. And if you want, I can get you some similar bands made especially for you, he said, letting a trace of fatherly kindness escape his frozen look. Ah, really, Titu-sama? She almost could not believe it. Of course. If you promise to use them consistently, and not throw them away like an old toy you get bored of. He teased his daughter, agreeing that training for the day was over. Instead of getting flushed, she snapped back at him, Hai-tu-sama. I promise on my Nindo. Now Hayashi was the one feeling like he was in a dream. Not only this was one rare moment when Hinata didn't stutter, but it seems that the boy's behavior rubbed off on her for the better. Naruto only smiled at the situation. Very well, I think you both agreed to end this session early. Let's continue with meditation near the koi pond. Flashback end. He knew that tomorrow, even though it was the day before his birthday, Hayashi told him that there will be something important regarding the Gentile fist, and it just so happened that was his worst part. Even though he had basically mastered its forms, with over 50 years of combined clone practice, his chakra was just not suited for this, as its very nature was special since it fluctuated in intensity. No matter what he did, he just couldn't stabilize the stuff. Hayashi described this as trying to walk in the rain without getting wet, with no jutsu or umbrella. He knew that it was because of the seal, because even though Kurama had stopped fighting the boy's chakra, it was still being forced into the blonde's system, causing internal ripples as they combined. The only time he wasn't suffering from this was when he was full, as the seal would stop feeding him to keep him from overloading, or when he was near zero, when he could use pure Biji chakra. Naruto tried every chakra control exercise he could find in Konoha, for meditating, balancing a leaf in your hand, tree walking, waterfall walking, and even created new ones like sleeping while hanging from a tree with your chakra. A clone did this though, and in the morning it fell, and mastered them all. Meditating was his favorite, as he got a chance to talk to Kurama. He had absolutely perfect chakra control, worthy enough to be called legendary. He had even mastered the Hiraishin. He remembered the occasion with a sheepish grin. Long flashback. It had been about 6 months since the council meeting, and Naruto just mastered the water walking exercise that came after the leaf balance and tree walking that Hayashi showed him to improve his control. Having the power to do a lot of clones helped do this, since he could now do months of training in a matter of weeks. He was dressed in the same training gi. He was still practicing a little by meditating in the middle of the koi pond when a branch member came over, saying, Naruto-sama, Hokage-sama summons you to his tower. Naruto then got up and jumped to the man. Thank you for telling me, Satoshi-san, he said and bowed. The Hyuga bowed back. It was no problem, Naruto-sama, answering with a smile. His relations with the other members of the family were vastly improving, but that is a story for later. Now Naruto was jumping from rooftop to rooftop, heading for the Kage Tower. Why did the old man call him now? He kept thinking about it, but as he got close he decided to surprise Hiruzen, and instead of the normal path to the man's office, he took the scenic route, heading for the wall of the tower and an open window. He stealthily made his way up the wall and peeked inside the tower, only to find the old pervert reading an orange book with a man chasing a woman, called Makeout Paradise, from now on MOP. He tiptoed behind the Hokage, who had a red face and was giggling like an idiot. The boy was looking over the man's shoulder with a foxy grin and yelled "Hei! Hokage-sama!" from the top of his lungs. The next second, all that was holding the man's robe, hat and book in place was an afterimage and air pressure, with the man hanging from the roof like a cartoon cat, with chakra, and while he was disorientated, Naruto unsealed the camera from his wristbands and made a picture, will be useful later, and could swear the shadows in the corners were laughing. Naruto! Don't ever do that again! Screamed the Kage, using a gigantic head no jutsu that would make Irika proud. You wanted to see me? He said, wiping his tears he got from laughing. The old man motioned his hand and 2 puffs of smoke appeared in the dark corners of the office, making Naruto activate his Ranpu jutsu in surprise. It seems that Sarutobi didn't learn from his mistake the first time and went through 25 hand signs and then slapped his hands together. Fuinjutsu, Tomb of Secrets. Seals leaked from the old Hokage's shadow and got written into the walls. Hiruzen let out a sigh before hearing Naruto say cool. He then lifted his eyelids to see a very bright-eyed blonde boy, literally. He then face-palmed himself and asked Naruto through the fingers, tell me that you did not see how I did that. Sorry Hokage-sama, but you know I hate lying, he said, smiling with full teeth on display. I was afraid of that. Never mind. I called you here because I understood that you mastered the water walking exercise. Is this true? The blonde nodded. Okay then, as I promised, today you will start learning your father's Hiraishin no Jutsu, the professor said. The boy felt like he wanted to bounce off the walls, but months of meditating with Hayashi gave him better control over his actions, but he was still a 6-year-old boy, so he still shook in excitement, while a tear came down his smiling face. The aged Kage felt his heart skip for joy as he saw the blonde's expression. He then lifted the seals just a little to let the doors be opened. He then pushed the buzzer on the intercom. "Send for the Goei Shotai guard platoon," he said. A/N, look it up. "Right away, Hokage-sama," responded the secretary. In less than a minute the doors opened and 3 men entered, led by Genma Shiranui. "You wanted to see us, Hokage-sama?" asked Genma. "Close the doors," Hiruzen ordered, and they complied. The confidentiality seal covered the door again, and the men knew it was something serious, but why was there a 6-year-old child sitting on the couch if this was such an important matter? "I called you here because I know that you are some of the Hokage's most loyal shinobi, past or present," Sarutobi said, looking out the window. He then turned his head to them, and they saw the dead serious look on his face, asking, "Am I wrong?" They went from at ease to standing in attention as they answered in unison, "No, sir." "Good, because I have an S-class mission for you that is the highest S-class secret, something like SSS," Hiruzen told them, now fully turned and facing the platoon. They tensed but stood silent. Hokage inhaled and held it briefly. "I need you to teach this boy the Hiraishin in secret." The platoon all blinked with beady-style eyes, Barney Rubble, and looked at the Hokage with an "are you fucking serious" look on their face. Naruto noticed this and began to snicker silently and with nobody noticing as he snapped another photo, just for memory. Hokage-sama, could you please give me one good reason to teach some snot-nosed brat Minato-sama's prize technique?" Genma asked. Naruto was too busy snickering to notice that he had just been insulted. Hokage let out a sigh he prepared for beforehand, the long breath, and looked at the boy who was silently laughing. "Naruto, come here," he said, making the boy switch to serious mode in an instant, effect of living and training with Hayashi. The blonde nodded and went to the Hokage standing in front of him. "What I will tell or show you 3 now is an SSS class secret punishable by death," he said with a little killer intent, causing all 3 men to gulp. "Now tell me," the professor continued, "who does this boy look like the most?" They all raised an eyebrow until Genma got the courage to speak. With the birthmarks on his face, I would say he looks like something else whose mention is punishable by death," he wearily and stupidly answered. Hiruzen face-palmed himself again while Naruto smiled at the fact that he looked like his Nichan. He was happy, even though they say he looks like a 10-story tall demon fox. Sarutobi then moved to the side, leaving Naruto directly under the photo of the Yondaime Hokage Minato Namikaze. "Look again and tell me who he resembles," the Kage ordered. The platoon looked again with bored expressions but froze in place and began looking as white as ghosts. "Thth, the Yondaime Hokage," they said in unison, even stuttering the same sounds at the same time. "Hokage Guard Platoon, meet Naruto Namikaze Uzumaki, Minato Namikaze and Kushina Uzumaki's son." Naruto raised his hand and said, "Sup?" and Genma together with the others fainted. The boy began poking them with a stick and said, "Hokage-ji-san, will they be alright?" Hiruzen's eyes bulged in surprise. Naruto just called him a warmer form of his title. Oh, how he missed hearing "ji" coming out of the boy's mouth and addressed to him. He then nodded. After they recovered, they accepted the mission and went together with Naruto to a secluded cave near the outskirts. There Genma sealed the entrance with a low-ranked Doton. A/N, I'm too lazy to pick one. Gimme a break, it's 2:08 a.m. The cave was well illuminated by holes in the ceiling, and so, they could see rocks. The cave was pretty bare. "Okay kid, stop sightseeing and pay attention. Now front and center," Genma ordered. Naruto almost shined in front of him. "Well, at least you know how to listen to orders, which is good for now. Geez, I don't know why Hokage-sama wants us to show this gaki, brat, kid wet behind the ear, his father's technique. He will probably just brag to his friends and get a target painted on him. Really, Hokage-sama could have at least waited for him to be a genin. All kids do is dream. Gaki, do you know that this thing could get you killed if IWA, Rock, find out about you?" the man said, picking his ear with his pinky and looking some other way. When he looked back, he was surprised indeed. Naruto was boiling inside, and the only thing that was keeping his anger in check was the flashing faces of the kind Hyuga family that cared for him, and whom he swore to protect. That meant get stronger, and that meant learn his dad's jutsu. His face then got half-shadowed above the cheeks. When Genma finished his speech, the blonde reached for his seal and unsealed the kunai he used for target practice with Hayashi. The platoon went on alert, not knowing what the boy would do, but this he just cut the belt on his white top. It was tied really good as to not slip off during training, letting it unfold and fall to the ground, sliding of the child's shoulders. The squad went a little pale as they saw the preteen's body covered with faded scars, some of whom were shining in the light that seeped through the cracks in the walls. The kid looked like a broken vase that was put back together with glue. Naruto then spoke. Yeah, you're right, kids dream. They dream and dream of nothing but greatness. And I admit that I dream like that as well. I dream to be Hokage and protect those that saved me from the nightmare of my first years of life. Tell me, Genma-san, what is your earliest memory? What can you remember from your childhood? The blonde asked. I'm not really sure, the man stuttered. Well, I can. I can still see the punch of the one who should have taken care of me at the orphanage, flying towards my face in slow motion. I can still remember the first meeting with starvation as I ate only moldy bread, the first sting of the kunai that hit me in my back, as I was running for my life. The first pain of the bat that swung at me. The first fire that ate my skin as I was burned at the stake. Naruto paused a little bit, seeing the compassionate and worried look on the men. But I also remember that first night I met my Nai-san, the first time I saw Haruko-san defeating a bear, the first time I felt the warmth of an embrace, the first bowl of ramen, the first time I held Hanabi-chan in my arms, and the first time somebody considered me human and gave me a home. Naruto yelled at the men with eyes filled with both pain and happiness, making them sweat and take a step back. They saved me from that hellish nightmare called loneliness, so now I can dream too. He took a step towards the men, who backed up some more. Naruto closed his eyes. Now I dream. I dream of protecting the people I care about, and the village they love so much, so they and their kids will never suffer that horrible ordeal. And so, my dream became my ambition. He opened his eyes, showing the will of fire burning like the sun in each one. Because being Hokage is my dream. All men had their mouths open slightly, looking at the blonde, but then Genma knelt on one knee and the others followed. And should your dream become real, the Hokage guard platoon will be your shield, he said, and Naruto smiled. Yosh, let's get to it. This brat's not going to learn his dad's jutsu by himself now, is he? In the Hokage Tower, Hiruzen was looking through his crystal ball at the scene. He then lowered his hat on his face and spoke. Couldn't have said it better myself. A/N. When I'm writing, nothing is known about the Hiroshin no Jutsu in the original series, manga, just as Naruto learned the name of the 2 to 7-tailed beasts, except that it is similar to the summoning jutsu, SJ, and its variation, the reverse summoning jutsu. As I see it, the SJ and RSJ, the ninja opens a space-time window and uses his chakra to pull the summoned creature through that window. The Hiroshin, I think, uses chakra to push, rather than pull, the user through. What I don't know is how that SD window is formed or how big it is, and if the traveling body deconstructs, kind of like Stargate, when traveling through, though I think not, for a couple of reasons, and other special conditions like why the yellow flash occurs or why the kunai are different. Since the original may still present the jutsu, and how it's done, I will be as evasive as possible on how Naruto learns it to avoid ruining a later reader's image. Sorry, but hey, I expected Kurama and Naruto become buddies ever since I saw the battle at the Valley of the End, so maybe I'll be lucky. 4 days later, Naruto learned how to send objects to other parts using the Hiroshin, as well as how to do the target seal, thanks to 60 clones practicing with him. He was using his clones and practicing with rocks, as Genma said that. Kid, remember that I told you it's like a summoning jutsu, but chakra works the other way around? Naruto nodded. Well, when you use the summoning jutsu, you use hand seals and your body as a beacon to keep the window open. The Hiroshin uses only your chakra to keep it open, so if you goof before getting to the other side, you get crushed by it. Just so you know, it takes all 3 of us to keep that from happening, said Genma, pointing to his partners, making the boy become curious and frightened. Okay, until you get the feel of the jutsu, I want you to practice moving rocks with the Hiroshin. Start with ones that fit into your hands and move on to bigger ones. Naruto looked to Genma with a pout and squinted eyes, surprising the man. What? Asked Genma. So that's why we train here, declared Naruto, looking to the rocky cave, making the man sigh in relief. Yup. Now get to it. He bent his torso, looking directly into the boy's eyes. Hi. 4 hours later, the blonde and his clones were making sand and pebbles out of hand-sized rocks. All of them were looking frustrated and tired. Genma saw this and moved to the original. Listen, kid, don't lose your cool. With this jutsu, getting impatient could be deadly. It took me and my mates a long time to learn this jutsu, and we are tokubetsu or special, jounin, and we had help from its creator. If it was easy, then the Sandaime would have learned and used it, but it's not. Just take it easy, you got time. I want you to practice like I told you every day here, and when you can move a boulder to the maximum of your chakra reserves, come to me and we will move on the finer parts like sensing the right target and eventually jumping a living being. he told the blonde, putting a hand on his shoulder. Naruto smiled and nodded. 2.5 weeks later, we find the boy heading for the Hokage's office. He passed the secretary and knocked on the door. He heard "come in" and entered. He found the old man behind a mountain of paperwork tying a rope in a way made it look like a noose. "Naruto, what brings you here?" asked the man in a weak voice. Hokage-san, are you alright?" the boy asked worryingly. The Kage released a sigh and looked at the boy. "No, Naruto. I'm too old for this blasted paperwork that's eating away my life, but don't worry about it. What can I do for you?" "Well, I was looking for Genma-san, but I couldn't find him. I finished the first part of the training, and I wanted to show him," the blonde answered. Hiruzen was surprised that Naruto finished that part so fast. He got a report from the man a while back that told him of the training and how difficult it was, as it took 3 jounin to do the jutsu. He shrugged it off, blaming the boy's genes, and summoned the guard platoon, who arrived under 2 minutes. "Hey Genma-san, I finished it," chirped the boy, making the men's sweat drop. "Okay kid, let's go to the training area and you can show us." The man smiled. "Not the training area, since it doesn't have big enough boulders. Let's go to the top of Hokage Mountain, there's some good ones there," chirped the boy again, giving the men beady eyes. "Oh, okay," Genma stuttered. When they were about to leave, Naruto turned to the Hokage. "Hokage-ji-san, why don't you use shadow clones to do the paperwork? I do it all the times with Haruko-san when studying or doing homework. I even have one now, studying with her and watching her health. Gne, bye, see you later." He walked out with a smile. A/N, old idea I know, but it works. Sarutobi now had the top of his face shadowed and had a blue background. He then went through about 7 hand signs and then put his right hand on the desk, whispering "Tokubesta Kuchios no Jutsu, Special SJ." A wooden target about 1/2 meter wide and 1/4 inch thick materialized where the man had placed his hand. There was writing on it that said, "In case of realizing something obvious and simple, use this," and the man proceeded to get full points, banging his head against the bullseye. Meanwhile, on Hokage Mountain, 3 men and 1 boy were standing at the base of a boulder 1.5 times the size of a double-decker bus. "This one should be good enough," said a smiling boy, making the men sweat. Kid, what do you mean good enough?" "For what?" Genma asked, a little worried about the answer. "What do you mean for what?" "For the Hiration, of course. You told me to send a boulder the size of my chakra to the target seal, but I had to leave a clone at home with a good amount of chakra to study and take care of Haruko-san, so I'm about 2/3 full," he answered in a matter-of-factly way, making the men's sweat drop. "Look kid, it's not good to lie. A shinobi should." Genma started to preach, making the boy pout and move to the boulder. He then placed one hand on it, and it disappeared in an orange flash, appearing 30 feet away near a pre-prepared target seal, in perfect condition. A/N, Naruto's flash is orange. His father was the yellow flash and his mother was the red-hot habanero, so his color is orange. I am one of the few who support Naruto's choice of color and think that if they could use henge, why care about the color of their clothes? I mean, the blonde could henge into tar and become perfectly unrecognizable. The men's jaws became unhinged and they looked like Jiraiya walking by mistake into a gay bar. No racism, or however you call it, intended. They just couldn't believe it. Near them, a panting Naruto. "You were saying?" They all shook their head and then looked at him, smiling. Genma gave him a smooth, toothy smirk and said, "Well done, kid. Well done." They spent the next month in about 1,500 total shadow clones, teaching the kid how to jump living beings and fine-tuning the jutsu, as well as teaching Naruto how to make and place a target seal without writing it. At the end, they were in the forest on the outskirts of the village about to test him. "Okay kid, we placed those 70 target seals that I asked you to make me yesterday all over the village and surrounding area. Each of them has a flag. I want you to get those in under 10 seconds. The boy nodded. "In case you complain later, I want you to know that your dad could defeat a small army of 700 in that time, in the heat of battle. Live targets that move and fight back, you got that?" Naruto nodded. He always loved to hear stories about his dad. Genma pulled out a big digital stopwatch and placed it on a rock above a target seal. "Ready, set, go." The man hit the start button of this device, barely having time to pull his hand before Naruto appeared with the flags and hitting the stop. The man then looked at the watch. 0.32 seconds. Not yellow flash level, but it's very impressive. The boy smiled at the praise, but then got a thought about asking him, "What is your time?" The men then began to sweat and looked like they stepped on something nasty. They then turned to each other and looked at the ground while a dark cloud formed above them. Genma then mumbled something. "Sorry, what?" Naruto asked, a little worried about them. 1.21 seconds. They dropped to the ground and started playing with the dirt, while Naruto rubbed the back of his head and smiled. A/N, like I said, sorry for the vague description of the training. End flashback. Naruto snickered a little bit remembering this but dropped his shoulders and let out a sigh realizing that he still didn't get his Juken down. He then finished his training understanding that he should go and rest seeing the sun go down. He dispelled the clones and got their memories back but there was almost no clear improvement in his control. He then walked back to the Hyuga compound. He would have flashed there but he promised the Hokage not to use it until he became a shinobi. He opened the gate and walked in and saw a Hyuga boy a year older than him practicing his taijutsu. The boy was a little taller than him, and had long hair that reached down to his shoulder blades where it was tied with a simple piece of cloth. He was Neji Hyuga, son of Hizashi, and even though he only knew him for a month or so, he became Naruto's best boy friend. He remembered the day when he met him. How could he forget? It was his birthday after all. Long flashback. It was the morning 10th of October, and the festival honoring the defeat of the Kyuubi was in full swing. Naruto was in his room hiding, since old habits die hard and this one was beaten into him by his caretakers, orphanage, and villagers. He was sitting in a lotus position, meditating and talking to Kurama. Hayashi was at the hospital with his wife for her monthly checkup. Kurama and I-san. The boy shouted at the 10-story fox. Naruto had figured out a long time ago how to change this place, and now it looked just like the Forest of Death, Training Ground 44, that Naruto used to train in sometimes, even down to the small animals. Naruto also reduced Kurama's seal manifestation to a body seal made of 13 bracelets that covered his wrists, ankles and tails that had soundless chains connecting them to a metal collar that had the circular seal lock on it. The area even had a day-night cycle and all damage Kurama did regenerated overnight. Of course Kurama couldn't use his full chakra abilities thanks to his seal but it was still nicer than a sewer. "Hey there, Kit," answered the resident fox. "Know what day is today?" "I wonder, what could today be that got you so excited?" He pretended not to know. "Ni-san," the boy pouted. "Hee hee. Happy birthday, Kit. Sorry I couldn't get you a present, I was only sealed in your abdomen," teased Kurama. "Don't need any," he answered, making the bijou raise an eyebrow. "After all, on this day I got my Ni-san." He flashed a toothy grin but there was a hole in them. He was a growing boy after all and his baby teeth started falling. Kurama looked at him in surprise but then bwch. "What happened to your teeth? Did you scream so much that they fell out?" The fox laughed. "Nope. Haruko-san says that my baby teeth are falling out so I can get stronger ones," he answered with an expression that was a cross between matter-of-factly and pout. "Kit, love to stay and chat but somebody is looking for you on the outside." "Okay. Bye, Ni-san," the boy chirped and awoke to the sight of Hizashi that had his hand on a Hyuga boy about the same age as Naruto. The man smiled and bowed a little at Naruto who had gotten to his feet. "Naruto-kun, I came to wish you a happy birthday. I brought my son with me today so you can meet him. Say hello, Niji." The man turned to the Hyuga boy. The boy looked a little stiff when he took a step forward and bowed greetings. "I am Niji Hyuga. If my honorable father is correct then I wish to extend my birthday salutations as well," he said in a very respectful tone. Now Naruto was no longer a stranger to etiquette or knowledge as he was at first. Haruko taught him, mostly his clone, about the finer movements and speech patterns concerning manners and such, but Niji's speech left him dumbstruck. "Niji means that he also wishes you a happy birthday," said the man who was laughing a bit. "Oh, then thank you both." The blonde bowed. "Niji, I have to go meet with Hayashi-sama. Why don't you stay here with Naruto and have fun?" the man said, smirking a little bit towards the blonde and heading for the door. "Hi Shikyu. Honorable father," Niji answered. Naruto then walked a bit closer to the boy. "So what do you want to do?" the blonde chirped. "Anything you want to do, Naruto-sama," was Niji's emotionless response, making Naruto cringe. "Okay. Then I want to do what you like," responded the boy, showing a sneaky grin. "Well, I like training. I'm sure Naruto-sama wouldn't like that on his burr." Before Niji even finished his sentence, Naruto got up and changed out of his indoor orange silk kimono that Haruko got him as an early birthday after convincing her husband, and got dressed into his training attire. "I love training," the blonde chirped. Niji smirked. Even though this boy Naruto was a bit impulsive, he was beginning to like him. They made their way to the dojo where Naruto practically wiped the floor with Niji. After a couple of hours in there we find Naruto standing above the boy who was on the ground, breathing heavily. "Why are you so strong?" asked the Hyuga boy. "I told you that I love training. I do it any time I have the chance. Besides, if we would have used chakra, then I think our places would have now been switched, since my chakra is just not suited for Juken other than for short bursts," chirped Naruto, happy to be training with a boy his age for once. "But still I'm the older one. Why is there so much difference in our fates?" Neji looked away. "Fates? What does that got to do with strength?" the blonde asked, confused. A surprised Neji turned again to Naruto and began explaining it has everything to do with strength. It is decided from birth how much power and strength we have. Fate plays favorites, understand? The boy snapped at Naruto, who saw the same sadness and anger he saw in Yuki the first time they met. Meanwhile, somebody was listening to their conversation just outside the door. "We are destined from birth to follow the path fate drew for us, and we can never escape." Never with that, Neji turned and walked outside the dojo. Naruto stood there in a sad thinking pose until the person listening entered the room. "That boy has always been like that. Ever since he got the seal on his forehead, he has stopped living for himself, no matter how hard I tried to make him snap out of it. I'm afraid that one day he will let himself die just because he thinks that fate decided it for him," said Hizashi in a fatherly tone with concern etched on it. Naruto then clenched his fists, bit his lip, and ran after the boy. It took Naruto 10 minutes to find the boy, using the Shinsugen, to find Neji practicing in the woods just outside the compound. Unknown to him, somebody else found the blonde and began stalking him. "Lower your hips a bit and relax your waist," Naruto said to Neji, who wasn't surprised by the blonde thanks to the Byakugan. "Thank you," he responded emotionlessly. A moment of silence was taken as Naruto looked at the boy who was still practicing. "Listen, Neji, I can." The blonde didn't get to finish his question when he heard some leaves and twigs rustle. Both boys turned their heads to see a slightly inebriated Jounin. Naruto started backing up when he saw his face, trembling a little bit. Inside him, Kurama growled like a raged beast. A/N, creepy Orochimaru-like laugh, but with a lower, deeper tone. "Kukuku, I thought I burned you alive, demon. I guess I was too soft on you. I will make sure not to repeat the mistake, Yandame-sama's mistake, and kill you." It was the same man who burned Naruto at the stake about a year ago. The unnamed Jounin pulled out a kunai and threw it at Naruto. By now Naruto got a little of Kurama's chakra that calmed him down and made him focus. Also, it did help that the man insulted his father. Naruto activated his Shinsugen and Sojin Seishin. The blonde avoided the kunai and dashed to the woods, but forgot to take his bands off, so the said Jounin caught up with him easily and slashed out at Naruto with another kunai, who avoided this time as well. The man was on the offensive while Naruto was on the defensive, jumping and avoiding the Jounin's attacks. The blonde then took out a kunai of his own from the seal on his bands and began to exchange blow for blow with the inebriated shinobi, who barely avoided a Juken strike to his arm and jumped back. The man went through a few hand signs, but his senses picked up on movement behind him, not reacting fast enough to avoid a palm strike full of chakra to the legs by Neji, making him wobble. "You brat!" he yelled and backhanded the boy, who flew back, hitting a tree and coughing blood. "For defending that thing, I will kill you and blame the demon," he said as he threw a shuriken, and doing a few hand seals he shouted Shuriken Kagebun Shin, Shadow Clone Shuriken, and the shuriken that he threw became 100, all heading for him. Neji accepted his fate and closed his eyes, waiting for the pain. He waited and waited and waited, but it never came. "Are you alright?" he heard Naruto calling for him. Neji opened his eyes and saw the blonde over him, with his clothes torn, his torso bare, except a few pieces of cloth here and there, and bleeding a lot. In his chest there were 7 shuriken that Naruto couldn't deflect, that poofed out of existence, leaving 7 holes. "Why?" Neji cringed. "Why did you save me? It was my fate to die, not yours," asked the Hyuga, clenching a fist full of bloody grass. Naruto coughed some blood and answered, smiling, "Because I think of you as my friend, and I will protect my friends." This made Neji's eyes as big as dinner plates. Naruto then lowered his head so that the top half of his face was now darkened by shadow. "Neji, I know what it's like having a mark that you did nothing to deserve or couldn't do anything about." "What are you talking about?" The Hyuga boy was about to ask, but saw the seal mark form on Naruto's stomach and his wounds fizzle out of existence while smoking. "Neji, I know just how unfair life is. This guy that you see here is not the first or the last that came for me. There were many times when I cried myself to sleep cursing my fate," Naruto continued, "but..." The blonde then looked up to the boy with hardened eyes full with resolve. If fate said that we must live a horrible life, then screw it. I will change my fate no matter what, and if fate can't be changed, then at least I tried. What I do understand is that it definitely won't change if I just sit on my ass and do nothing about it, he said. And you know what? It worked. He smirked and turned his fully healed body towards the Jounin, who was bragging to nobody that he killed the demon, leaving an awestruck Niji. Naruto dropped his weights and yelled at the Jounin. Hey jackass, you are forgetting something. This made the drunken ninja turn in surprise. But how? I killed you, he growled. Not even close, dumbass, answered the blonde. He then dashed towards the man at incredible speeds, catching him off guard and delivering a Juken strike to his abdomen, making him fall unconscious. I won't die before I become Hokage, he declared before falling face first himself. It was now evening when Niji managed to carry Naruto back to the compound. By now Hayashi and his wife Haruko were back from the hospital and were talking to Hizashi and Yukihime when the gate opened and they saw both children bloody with Naruto on Niji's back. With a speed that would make the Hiraishin jealous, they got to the children's side and Hayashi picked up Naruto, who had just woken up, and Niji was greeted by his father. What happened? Did I win? Asked Naruto. That's what we would like to know, said the adults in unison. Niji then told the adults the story. Hayashi sent a branch member to report to the Hokage about this incident. So I won. Yada! The blonde started bouncing up and down, earning him smiles from the rest of the group after they checked his health and found nothing wrong, even with the Byakugan. Niji then pulled his father to the side. He is definitely a fool to fight his fate like that, the boy said with a smile. His father smiled and told him everything about Kurama and the boy's early life, about how he was tortured and hated. Then he told his son about how he never gave up and changed not only his fate but also Hinata's, Haruko's, Hanabi's, and even his, Hizashi, own fate. Niji, this boy may be a fool, but he is definitely something else, don't you think? Niji then nodded and answered San, Father, do you think I could be a fool like him? Hayashi broke into a laugh, saying, why not? You can be a fool if you want. After all, you are my genius son. End flashback. Hey Niji! The blonde yelled. Hello Naruto-sama, the boy answered with a smile. How many times have I told you to leave out the sama? Asked Naruto rhetorically. 163 times if you count this one, Niji answered with a slight smirk. Then why do you do it? The blonde asked, already exasperated. Well, it is only proper to show the future Hokage respect, he answered with a bit of sarcasm. Naruto sighed and said, never mind, I'm too tired to try right now. How is Haruko-san doing? She had my clone dispel a while ago when she left for the hospital. Haruko-sama is still away and Hayashi-sama is at a Konoha council meeting. Do you want to train with me? Niji answered. Not today. I want to hit the bed early since tomorrow, as Hayashi-sama told me he has something planned out for me. The blonde sighed. I take it you are not looking forward to it? The boy chuckled a bit. Naruto looked at him but closed his eyes and smiled a little in approval. He then continued on to the main house, and his room, which was at the end of the house complex in the compound. On the way he met many branch members who smiled and even bowed to him. He also had to face a few who ignored him and a couple who even cringed at the sight of the boy, but they were by far outnumbered by the ones who were on the blonde's side. Semi-flashback. Naruto had earned the respect and kindness of the Hyuga when he did not differentiate between the main house members and the branch families. Whenever he was not training, sleeping, eating, or getting some private stuff, he had put the privacy seal Tomb of Secrets to good use, since it even stopped the Byakugan from peeking when he took a bath or a dump. He would help the house with any and every chore they could find, from cooking to laundry. Having the ability to create hundreds of clones came in handy for this, and they were a blessing for the cooks, gardeners, laundry women, and so on who, after teaching him a bit, or just supervising him, took a liking to him and even saw Naruto as a son or pupil. He even helped heal and trained with most shinobi branch members when they returned from their missions, teaching them a little of the main house style. He consulted with Hayashi if he was allowed to do this, and the man told him with a smile and a matter-of-factly face pointed upwards and eyes closed, that since you are not a family member, you have the right to do as you please. Since I am a member of the main house, even if I wished I could, clan rules would forbid me to do so. Naruto immediately understood what he meant. Look underneath the underneath saying that was taught to him by the man. It meant that Hayashi was practically asking the boy to do that, since, even though he wanted to, he couldn't because of the clan rules. This made the branch families love him even more, and when Naruto gave them the translation to Hayashi's words under oaths of secrecy, the rift between the clan divisions, main and branch, began to close, if only just a bit, and the branch members to respect Hayashi not only out of fear. SFB end. At the council meeting, the room was split between the civilian part and the majority of the shinobi council. Hiruzen was rubbing his temples for the past 10 minutes. Word had gotten out that Naruto was staying at the Hyuga compound, and this provided the spark to light the forest fire. "Hyuga-sama, how could you take that monster in?" one white-haired civilian counselor practically screamed. "Haruno-san is right, Hyuga-sama. That brat needs no home or even care for that matter." Another member voiced his opinion. "That's right. That trash should just burn." One more counselor could not keep it in. Hayashi in the meantime was counting back from 100 for the third time by now to keep his cool image. He was thankful to Kami that his wife was still too ill to attend the meetings, otherwise it would have been a bloodbath. He prayed that the Hokage would intervene to shut them up while he tried to listen to their words. "Indeed, Hayashi-san, why did you take that boy in when you said that he would be hated in the clan compound?" asked the mummy man Danzo, causing the rest of the voices to die out. For once he was thankful to Danzo for creating an opening in the so-called conversation. The mummy did it of course for other reasons, as he heard of Naruto learning the Juken but could not get any other intel past Sarutobi, so the boy and his abilities was a secret to him. Being that Naruto was inside, or close to the Hyuga compound, he could not sneak any of his root members to spy on the blonde without alerting the Kage of his activities, as the Byakugan saw through any of his genjutsu. Hayashi answered, "As you may have heard, Uzumaki-san saved my daughter from kidnap and possibly a life of forced breeding. In doing so he also saved my clan's honor and Konoha's exclusive Dijitsu. As for the second part of your question, Shimura-san, it appears that it was a hasty decision, as most of my clan seems to be on the boy's side." Hayashi ended his statement with a mental smirk. Danzo hadn't expected this. He thought that he could force Hayashi into a corner and get the Kyuubi for himself, but now he had no hand to play, so he decided to bluff. "But surely the boy doesn't feel that his place belongs there, and there are those who look down on him?" the War Hawk asked, more than stated. /n. I am not going to describe people that appear in the original since I suck at it anyway. Just web search for them. True, but they are in minority, and if there was a problem with that, then Hokage-sama would have taken the boy, as his stay was approved by Hokage-sama. Hayashi checkmated Danzo with his answer and then continued, "Besides, he is much safer in my clan's compound than practically anywhere else, both from the village and from other shinobi." "That would be logical. An apparently emotionless Shibi," Aburame answered. "It is the best place to keep the boy from harm, as nobody can sneak into the compound," he continued while shooting a glance at Danzo through his glasses. "I agree with Hayashi and Shibi. My clan's members have not smelled any of his blood for the past year." Some Inuzuka backed him up. "It has been a little bit more quiet in the TNI department since people stopped going after Uzumaki-kun," smirked Inoichi Yamanaka. "And the boy deserves all the help he gets," commented the Gentile giant Shuza Akimichi. "Hiding in plain sight, good strategy." Shikaku Nara added his 2 cents. "I don't think it is such a good idea," commented Fugaku Uchiha, getting glances from the rest of the shinobi clans. "And why is that, Fugaku?" the Hokage decided to intervene. "Because, Hokage-sama, we all know what the boy contains, and if he manages to control it," at this Hiruzen gave a mental smirk, "he would upset the power balance of the clans." The Uchiha head answered. "And yet it is no secret that the boy wishes to become Hokage and protect the whole village of Konoha, and also there is the fact that a clan who is focused on a taijutsu style that relies on a dijitsu that the boy could never obtain, that could not be taught to the boy, took him in. Besides, from your words, it would sound that you have faith that Naruto would achieve such a feat," Sarutobi answered with another mental smirk. "If it seemed that way, then I stand corrected. However, that does not change the possibility. He must not be allowed before he could finish," the Hokage interrupted him. "If that does indeed happen, I would recommend that you start becoming something that he sees as an ally rather than demanding something that you surely know that I will refuse, since it was the perfect answer to the meeting we had when the boy was born." Hiruzen growled at the Sharingan user, making Hayashi mentally make a victory fist pump while keeping his ice-cold appearance. "That goes for the rest of you," the Hokage shouted out at the rest. They all got into thinking positions, after which Hiruzen finally declared the meeting over. Meanwhile, with Naruto, the blonde decided to make his way to the park to relax himself a little. He loved coming here with Haruko, Hinata and Hayashi, when he was free, and enjoyed the view of children having fun with their parents. If not, he was a bit jealous of the kids that had parents. Now Naruto was no ingrate, and he was thankful to whatever star and Kami that led him to meet the Hyugas, but put yourselves in his shoes. He was still a 6-year-old boy who wondered what his life would have been if his parents were alive. On his way there, he was using his Shinsugen as chakra control training to get an idea about how far he could see with as little chakra as possible. He then noticed a sudden increase in temperature. Forgot about this one, didn't you? Above the lake near the Uchiha compound. He then ran a bit to the lake, and from his high position on the small hill that was a few feet away from the body of water, he could see a boy dressed in a blue shirt and white pants that had a duck butt hairstyle that made Naruto snicker trying to hold his laugh. The Uchiha was going over some seals and screaming Katan, Gakakyu no Jutsu. Fire style, great fireball, and breathe out a stream of fire twice as big as him. Naruto took a moment to activate Sojin Seishin to observe the jutsu a second time and watch the flow of chakra. He noticed that while the boy got the manipulation down, he just didn't mix enough with his exhaled air. In simple terms, that means he was trying to do the jutsu faster than he got the chakra. The blonde jumped to the duck butt and walked his way there. When he got close enough, he heard the boy saying, Shikusho, damn it, why isn't it working? You're being too hasty. Breathe in and let the chakra mix with the air for a little while before exhaling, Naruto answered. The Uchiha turned to the Kyuubi host and gave a questioning look. Who are you? He raised an eyebrow. Normally it is polite to give your name first before asking for other people's names, Naruto answered matter-of-factly. Sorry. I am Sasuke Uchiha, he said a little bit dejected. No problem. My name is Uzumaki Naruto, the blonde answered. Your name is Fish Cake? Sasuke asked. Actually, it's Maelstrom, he answered with a tick mark above his eye. What is that? Sasuke asked with a cute tilted face. A kind of whirlpool, but more powerful, Naruto answered with a smile. Oh. And what are you doing here, Naruto-san? The duckbutt got curious. Well, I was just out for a walk and I saw you struggling to do that jutsu and thought you might need help, the blonde answered with a finger to his chin. What do you know about jutsu? You can't be any older than me, asked Sasuke. Well, I know a couple of jutsu, but despite that I have been doing chakra control exercises for over a year now. Don't ask. Just hear me out, let the chakra mix with the air for a little while before exhaling. Sasuke lifted an eyebrow but nonetheless did as Naruto instructed, made the hand seals and filled his lungs with chakra and air, making him look like a pigeon in mating season. He then mentally yelled the jutsu's name and exhaled, making a fireball the size of a house. He stayed in awe for a couple of seconds and turned to Naruto, who smiled back. Sasuke then stretched out his hand, looking to the side and getting a little red above the nose in embarrassment, said thanks. Naruto looked a little curious at first but then flashed his foxy smile and grabbed his arm and shook it. When the blonde returned to the compound, both Haruko and Hayashi were home and were enjoying a moment of family time with their two daughters. They were sitting on the porch of the main house while Hinata was playing with the 2-year-old bundle of energy called Hanabi. Ni-chan, you're home, said Hanabi and started running towards Naruto. He remembered how he had to hide for 2 days from Hayashi when Hanabi said her first words. Flashback. It was a sunny late afternoon, and Naruto was training in the Juken katas without his clones. He decided to take it easy with his workout today since he had to babysit Hanabi for the day while Hayashi and Haruko were gone on official clan business. He left a clone to watch over her but continued to remain close just in case. An hour later, the clan head and his wife returned and found the blonde practicing his form. The married couple looked at him with "you left my daughter alone" looks, but then saw another Naruto playing with the toddler and let out a sigh in relief. Lower your hips a bit and relax your waist, ordered a smiling Hayashi, the exact same thing that Naruto told Niji. The boy stopped immediately and looked at the smiling couple. Thank you, Hayashi-sensei, he answered with a serious but calm expression. This made Haruko put a hand to her smiling mouth and say, Era, what's this, / oh my, Era, Hayashi-sensei, looking at her husband, who jumped a little and blushed. They all then went to Hanabi's side with Naruto dispelling the clone. The toddler was in her playpen when Hayashi bent towards her and picked her up. She smiled and giggled when her father started cuddling her. Seeing this, Naruto thought of returning to his training and began walking back. Hanabi saw this and began getting restless and gurgling some baby sounds while stretching her arms towards the blonde. What is it, sweetheart? You don't want Naruto and Ai-chan to leave? Haruko started to caress her daughter's hair. Hanabi got more agitated with each step that the boy took until finally she managed to speak. Me and I. Baby talk, no and I. Naruto froze and then turned around. Haruko and Hayashi had eyes the size of saucers. Naruto slowly walked towards the girl and picked her up, getting more ni and I and giggles. It took all his resolve not to cry tears of joy until he felt a chill running down his spine. He then looked towards Hayashi, who was smiling, but the background was that of a thunderstorm. "Naruto-kun, I'm going to kill you," Hayashi said, still smiling. He secretly hoped that he would be the object of his daughter's first words, just like what happened with Hinata, but now his dreams were shattered by Naruto. This prompted the boy to start running, but not before leaving a clone to calm Hanabi. It took 2 days for Haruko to calm her husband down, since that's how much Hayashi chased Naruto before returning home. End flashback. In the meantime, Hanabi was running wobbly to Naruto when she tripped and was heading face first towards the ground. The blonde then shined and caught her a few inches above the ground, making the toddler giggle. Naruto would seriously have to thank that rude member who used the technique to get away when he approached the agent. That didn't mean that Naruto still took 3 days to practice it with 100 clones until he got it right. Remember that the Shinsugen is not like the cheating Eye Sharingan. Naruto still has to practice his techniques to be able to do them. Hayashi then motioned for the boy to approach. "How is your training going recently?" the man asked with a calm but not cold expression. "It is the same as it has been for 3 weeks now, Hayashi-sama. My chakra control is perfect. I have mastered all the forms and advanced moves of the Juken, including Kaiten, Rotation, Kusho, Vacuum Palm, and Juho Sashiken, Gentile Step, Twin Lion Fists, and the 3 Academy Jutsu besides the secret ones." Then the boy sighed. "If only I could stop the seal from leaking chakra constantly, then I could use them in battle, but right now it would just either be wasted chakra or it could damage my hands." The boy spoke. "I see." Hayashi stood silent for a moment. "Well, I was planning on testing you tomorrow to see if I can declare you a Juken master, but seeing this I think it will have to wait," the man said, making the boy look sad. Hayashi noticed this and continued. "Don't let it get to you. You are too young to be saddened by this. Take this as an opportunity to get some experience in life and prepare for the title of Grand Master. Only one with perfect form, perfect chakra control, and at least 10 years of experience can claim the title. You may have the first 2 requirements down, but you can't rush the third," he said, making the boy look up with a curious expression. Who could blame him? Very few knew about the Juken Grand Master title. In fact, there was only one per generation who could claim that title, and the current one was Hayashi. Naruto looked up with determination shining in his eyes and nodded. "I see you look forward to take my title already." Hayashi chuckled. "Who knows, perhaps by that time your chakra would have stabilized, but until then I suggest you create your own form more suitable for your needs. If you need any help, come to me and I will do whatever I can," he continued, and Naruto nodded and wanted to go back to playing with Hanabi and Hinata, but was stopped by Hayashi. "Naruto-kun, in 3 months Haruko and I will be going to the Hai no Kuni, Fire Country, capital to check on her health, since the doctors here say that she is almost fully healed, so we want to check at the country's main hospital." "That's great. Glad to hear that, Haruko-san," Naruto answered Hayashi and then turned to his wife. "Why, thank you, dear, but Hayashi and I were wondering if you would like to join us with Hinata and Hanabi. We already talked to Hokage-sama and he agreed." Haruko smiled. Naruto looked a little surprised at her words but immediately nodded. "Perfect," Haruko said. "Well, Naruto, I would like to." Hayashi's words were interrupted by a branch member. "Hayashi-sama, the family council would like to see you and Naruto-sama," he said in a grave tone and looking at the boy with worry. Hayashi was a man known for his calm mind, but even he couldn't stop thinking not this shit again, and answered, "I see. Thank you, Kaoru," he said, receiving a worried look from his wife. He reassured her with a nod and then turned his gaze to Naruto, who understood and followed. In the council chambers, Hayashi entered the room followed by Naruto. They saw the council men and women sitting Seiza-style around a low, round table with 2 spots vacant between them, one distinctively smaller than the other one. Hayashi proceeded to occupy the smaller one while Naruto took the other one. After a few moments, one elder broke the silence. "Hayashi-sama, we have requested your presence here today because we consider that there have been grave violations of our family's traditions and regulations, all concerning the boy," the old fart claimed, shooting a disturbing glance at Naruto. Hayashi kept his eyes closed and thought, "Oh boy, here it comes," answering, "I see. I suppose that you have analyzed the problems and have proof supporting these accusations," he answered, finally opening his eyes. "We do. For the past time Uzumaki-kun spent here, we have acknowledged the fact that you were to teach him the main house Juken style, but we did not approve of the fact that he may teach the style to the branch members of our clan," the old fart said with a sneer directed at the boy, an action copied by the other white-eyed geezers. "I see," Hayashi answered again, shooting a reassuring gaze at Naruto. Not that the boy needed, mind you. The boy had a rock-solid, determined look stuck to his face, The result of training under Hayashi with Hinata, of the love he received from Haruko and Hanabi, and his own personality. Then what do you propose? He said, curious to find out a little about the council's thoughts. We propose that Uzumaki-kun be branded with the seal to keep this from happening. They all but snickered, making Naruto squint his eyes in a try at assholes glare. Hayashi then moved his head back a little, and for the third time since the council started he answered, I see. He then looked to his right, and then to his left, and continued. Then I have no choice. The geezers started smirking then to deny your requests. This made the council pale. But Hayashi-sama, one old fart tried to protest. Naruto-kun has done nothing wrong. I know the family rules by heart, and there were no rules about teaching non-clan members the head family Juken style, nor did it stipulate that they cannot be taught by one. I find your accusations baseless, and so I dismiss them and forward an apology to Naruto-kun. He answered, making the council cringe. They had been checkmated again. I accept the apology, Hayashi-sama, and bear no ill thought to the council, the boy claimed with a stoic appearance. Hayashi nodded and continued, if there are no more concerns then I would call this meeting adjourned. There is one more matter, Hayashi-sama, another counselor stated. Hayashi turned his gaze at the old prune. We have to talk about what age will Hanabi be branded to the branch house, he commented. Hayashi was thrown in thought, but moments later he snapped back to reality when he felt an enormous killer intent flooding the room, making it hard to breathe for even the Hyuga head. The whole council turned to the source of the monstrous ki. Naruto was standing there smiling, but was leaking enough anger that a fly that had sneaked into the room fell dead as soon as it came within a foot's distance from the blonde. Naruto then proceeded to talk while keeping his eyes closed. Honored council, I am sorry for rudely interrupting the session, but I have to tell you something you should know. Touch even one hair on Hinata-chan or Hanabi-chan's head, and there will be hell to pay. Naruto opened his eyes to reveal a burning red with slit pupils, and releasing a fraction of Kurama's ki together with his own with the demonic fox eye, and half a face appeared behind the boy. Think Valley of the End after Sasuke Chidori at Naruto in the chest. The sight of Naruto's eyes and the feeling given off by the blonde made the council jump and say Kyuubi in unison. This made the boy smile. Who do you think you are, demon? Yelled one member. We should kill you for your insolence right now, barked another. This is our family's law and we will follow it, declared one more prune. That's right, continued three more. By now only Aoi was keeping his composure. Over time he came to view Naruto like a grandson and didn't like what was happening in the meeting until the moment the ki was unleashed. He was now doing his best to pay attention even if every bone in his old body told him to run away. Naruto-kun, this is a family matter, so please stay out of this, said Hayashi in a non-convincing tone. Naruto understood immediately that he was practically asking the boy to continue. Naruto then dropped the ki and bowed. I am deeply sorry for my outburst, Hayashi-sama. I will stay out of family matters, he said with full seriousness, but when he lifted his head he flashed a grin. But as a citizen of Konoha I cannot stay out of legal affairs, he continued, making the council even more worried. The honored members of the Hyuga Council are hereby accused of breaking Sandaime-sama's law concerning the Kyuubi no Yoko, which only I, Hokage-sama, and people we permit are allowed to talk about, the boy declared while holding a recording tag he saw a root member create while looking at him with his Ranpu techniques, making Hayashi's eyes widen in surprise but gave a mental smirk. The Hyuga head took the hint. But Naruto-kun, that law is punishable by death. Should the law be acted upon, it would not only spell the death of all council members except Aoi, but it would also bring great shame upon our name, he continued, faking concern. Indeed, Hayashi-sama, but the honored council has so vehemently declared that they must follow every law there is, family or otherwise. I am just following their example, he continued in a matter of factly way. Now if the council showed me otherwise, I would reconsider my actions, the boy said, looking at the old farts. They were white as paper and looked like they lost a few years of their already short remaining life. One of them then recovered his composure and snapped at the blonde. Are you threatening us, the Uzumaki-san? The boy adorned an evil smile that would make the old Kurama proud. There was no need for an answer. He got them by the balls and they knew it. Very well, we will give you an example by not touching Hinata or Hanabi with any sealing intention, one of them said. Not good enough, Naruto claimed. What? Another counselor wanted to ask but was interrupted by the boy. I will be frank. Naruto then slammed his hand on the floor and a confidentiality seal, Tomb of Secrets, appeared that stuck to the different surfaces of the room. He practiced it with so many clones that he could now do it without hand seals, and seals seemed easy to him even if he knew only 3. The sealing will stop now, one way or another. How dare you? You have no right to call for such a thing. One female member growled at the boy. They could not touch him since not only Hayashi protected him, but he was already a Juken master in all but name, not to mention they were scared out of their socks since Hayashi told them that if the host dies the Kyuubi reforms after some time, right where the host was killed. If the Sandaiji-san's law is acted upon it would spell the end of the council, and you all know that Hayashi-sama and Haruko-san are against the branding, only agreeing to do so to keep harmony inside the main family, so, like I said, one way or another here. You may keep the events that took place here secret, but this tag goes straight to the Hokage if I see one more seal on another forehead that was not there before, or if I hear that it was used one more time. He smiled, letting out not ki but sheer power that made the old prunes feel like they were in the path of a Force 7 hurricane. And most modern scales go up to 5. Naruto then lifted the confidentiality seal and walked out the room, leaving the council scared shitless. Hayashi had wide eyes in surprise at the turn of events, but inwardly he was laughing his ass off. Later that night Hayashi told Haruko what had happened in full detail. Era did Naruto did all that? Won't he be in danger now? She said with concern in her voice. Hayashi chuckled a bit. Not really. I will keep those old has-beens off his back, he said, reassuring her. Even though she was now almost healthy, he still tried to keep her away from stress. But won't he be in danger if the council sends someone for him? She asked. Well, most clan members are willing to die for him already since they see him as part of their families, and I will keep an eye on those who don't, and they won't try to do anything to him inside the compound since they know about Kurama's revival, and I don't think they want to deal with a pissed-off Bijou on clan grounds. Actually, I think that last part will make them protect the boy. Hayashi chuckled again and was imitated by his wife. Yes, you are right. Naruto is safe and sound while he stays close to the compound, and outside he is either watched by ANBU or can take care of himself with his father's jutsu as well as his own, she said, snuggling against her husband who embraced her. Really, that boy turned my life upside down, but all for the better. He has the guts to do what I always wished for and more. I swear I would adopt him if I could, but I must still follow some rules. The way Hayashi said some made Haruko giggle, but a 1000-watt light bulb appeared over her head. You know, honey, there is another way for the boy to join the family. She giggled. Hayashi made a curious face and looked at her in silence. We have a daughter his age, and we have to find her a husband, that is if she does not choose one herself, Haruko continued, smiling. It took a few seconds for Hayashi to connect the dots, and while he was known for his cool head and calm demeanor, he was still a father first, and his reaction was only fitting. He jumped out of the bed anime style, instantly getting up to his feet, with his back turned. He was dancing a rain dance, saying, No! 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 I will not have my baby leave me. The moment she brings a boy, even Naruto-kun I will. Honey! Haruko stated in a calm, sweet voice but with a graver tone. Hayashi froze in place and turned around slowly, instantly turning blue at the sight of his wife. Haruko was smiling and looking sweet, but behind her the background was black and an evil demonic figure was outlined in red with red eyes. /N. Imagine what you want, but personally I see a woman the same build as Haruko but with clawed hands and her hair going all over the place. You will do what, honey? She continued to ask in the deceptively sweet tone, with the figure behind opening her mouth in a feigned smile and growing bigger while the claws were getting closer to Hayashi's neck. I will stand aside and be happy for my baby, Hayashi answered, breaking into a cold sweat. The figure retracted and the background changed to flowers. I knew it, dear. Haruko smiled again with the figure peeking from behind her head. It had been a month since Naruto had faced the council and changed the future for any Hyuga clan member. He was now walking towards the shinobi library with a paper slip in his hands, accompanied by Hizashi and 2 other branch family members. He could still feel the cold, hard glares that most of the villagers were giving him. Of course, the fact that those glares were met back by Byakugan-enhanced eyes did help. The Hyuga guards near the boy did justice to their reputation as masters of emotional control, since inside they felt like Juken spanking everyone who dared even think bad about their hero. Yes, hero. The use of the forehead seal stopped, and word got out of who was to blame for this. Well, anyone with half a brain could figure it out. The branch members were now practically worshipping the ground where the boy walked, much to his own displeasure. He didn't want to be worshipped, or even thanked for his actions. He did it out of love for his adoptive family, and the fact that they were happy and safe was all that he needed. Living with nobody to care for you and to care for nearly 5.5 years made him thankful for the little that he got. Of course, that didn't mean that he didn't dream for greatness, but he also understood that nothing came without sacrifice and hard work. He didn't let the worship get to his head, although he did like the fact that he could walk the streets without fear of being mauled at every corner. And all he had to do is bluff the council. That's right, I said bluff. Flashback 2 days after the Hyuga Council. Hiruzen was sitting in his office chair looking out the window while two Kage Bunshin were signing and sorting the paperwork. Ever since Naruto pointed out this method, he could enjoy the little things in life like watching the sunset, drinking his coffee and reading his Ika Ika book, much to the displeasure of his female A and B guards, while giggling like a perverted schoolgirl. But today he was in too deep a thought to consider anything like that. A knock on his door broke the silence and lifted him out of his thoughts. Come in, approved the Kage. The doors opened slowly and the figure of a man gracefully entered, followed by a small child. You summoned us, Lord Hokage? The man asked. Indeed, Hayashi, please both of you have a seat, smiled the man, pointing to the couch. Hayashi complied and was soon followed by the preteen. Hayashi, I heard some wonderful news coming from one of your clansmen, and I called you here to confirm or negate them. The old man paused and looked at the Hyuga head, who was now smirking. Is it true that your family council finally gave you full power concerning the sealing process of your clan's branch members as you desired for a long time? Sarutobi was wearing his serious face but slipped a smile in between his words. No, I'm afraid not, Hokage-sama, answered Hayashi, making the old man frown in sadness. Hayashi then smirked again and continued. The council lost nearly all its political power, the sealing included. This nearly gave Hiruzen a heart attack. Really? How did you accomplish that? Hayashi, you have to tell me. The Kage prayed that Hayashi would answer his pleas, since maybe it could help him with his village council. I didn't do anything, Lord Hokage, answered Hayashi cryptically, making Sarutobi frown. It seemed to the old man that the Hyuga wanted this to be kept secret, much to his chagrin. Hayashi saw the Kage's reaction and continued after mentally smiling evilly. Truth be told, all credit goes to this little bottomless pit of surprises and eating, he answered, whispering the last part. Hiruzen's sweat dropped, as he never expected that the mighty Hyuga counselors would bow down to the workings of a child. But then the old man remembered who this was and that the unexpected should be expected when coming from the boy. Really? He asked again. Naruto, how did you manage to make it happen? The Kage questioned the boy with large eyes. Well, I'm not supposed to tell, the boy answered sheepishly, glancing to the shadows in the corners. Hiruzen got the point and waved his hand. As soon as he did that, 2 poofs came from the said corners. The boy then activated his Shinsugen and looked all over the room for a couple of seconds, making sure that there were no connections to the outside world. He then deactivated the jutsu and took a deep breath. Sarutobi waited nervously while the boy checked the area. He knew about the jutsu, and truth be told, he wanted his office checked for bugs. When Naruto finished and inhaled, he hoped that the boy would start talking, but first of all he had a different surprise when from the boy's feet shot seal arms that covered the walls and the doors. The Kage recognized the seal as the one he showed the boy unwillingly, and was absolutely amazed that he did it sealless, as this jutsu required more than 20 hand seals. Naruto, how did you do that? The Hokage blinked. I saw it from you, Hokage Gigi. The boy chirped the answer. No, I mean, how did you do it without hand seals? Hiruzen asked again. What are those? The boy asked, causing both men to face fault into the floor. Hand seals are those positions of the hands to make jutsu. Like these, Hiruzen proceeded to show the boy the Kage Bunshin seal as well as tiger, ox and ram. What? They make jutsu work? I thought that they were cool poses. I never did them seriously. I don't even use it for the Kage Bunshin anymore. I just make my chakra move like I see it in the people that do jutsu, though it usually takes me about a week in general before I can use them properly using Shadow Clone. The boy's words made the men facepalm themselves while thinking. Kami, if he does jutsu without hand seals like that, I don't even want to think about this kid's talent. No, Naruto, they make jutsu work more easily, but every shinobi wants to do jutsu seal-less, and most do with years of practice. The professor answered. So making them seal-less is better? The blonde asked. Both men nodded, making him smile. Listen, come back here in a month. I will have a permit for you to use the shinobi library. I would give it to you now, but the council would eat me alive. The Hokage told Naruto, then looked at Hayashi, who nodded. Okay, Hokage-ji. The boy smiled a half-toothy smile. His baby teeth are still being replaced. Good, now tell me how you managed to convince the Hyuga Council, the old man asked. The boy looked at Hayashi, who smiled and nodded. He then turned to the Hokage and told him the whole story. After listening to the story, the Hiruzen pondered a bit, but then, after realizing that Naruto is now safer than ever, he popped a laugh that made both the blonde and Hayashi smile. "I can't believe that you did that," said the old man. "You really took them for a ride." "Yeah, I can't believe how scared they were. I mean, Kurama and Isen trained me to fight Ki, and I didn't even give out a small part of his and they almost passed out. And you should see their face when I showed them a recording tag that doesn't work," he said, laughing, but caused the men to freeze in their places. "What do you mean it doesn't work?" asked Hayashi worryingly. Naruto took out the tag and gave it to Hiruzen. After the man examined the tag, he broke into a laugh again. "What is it, Hokage-sama?" Hayashi was getting restless. Hiruzen stopped laughing and passed the slip to the Hyuga man, who, after looking at it, put his hand to his forehead. "See what I mean, Hayashi? That tag is a little better than a baby scribbles when drawing," smiled the Hokage. "But that doesn't mean it didn't do its job as an intimidation device. That reminds me, Naruto, where did you learn how to make that tag and to use it in such a manner?" "Oh, the tag I learned from a ninja that had the kanji ni, root, on his Hitaite forehead protector. He tried to stick it on me, but I saw him with my Shinsugen and then asked a branch member to what this tag was. He then said it's a recording seal and can tell you what you talked about in the past, and showed me how it works. He asked me where I got it. I told him, and then he looked very angry and burned the first one and told me to stay away from those ninja with na. Then I tried to make my own from what I remembered, but it just didn't seem to work for me." Hayashi and Sarutobi cringed and tightened their fists. That branch member was right, Naruto. You must stay away from them. They are shinobi that work for a very bad man, Hayashi told the boy. "Okay," the boy answered. Even though he was curious, he decided not to ask when he saw the angry looks on the men's faces. "You still didn't tell me where you learned to intimidate people like that," the Hokage told the boy. "Oh, that I learned by watching the scary Aji-san, uncle, old man, and Wani-chan, sister, who live in the basement of the big building that looks like a hospital that had a sign on the wall that says Konoha's Intelligence Division," chirped the boy. The men felt their hearts rush out their chests and beat the fuck out of them. They prayed that the people who Naruto watched were simple paper pushers with a little too much talent. "Naruto, can you describe the two?" asked Sarutobi. "Yup. Aji-san looks really scary, wears his headband all over his head and also has 2 scars on his face," said the boy with a finger on his chin and looking up. "Oh no," thought both men. "Wani-san has purple hair and is very pretty, but she dresses like those girls in Hokage Gigi's book, but has a white snake that is scary but very nice," Naruto finished with a smile. "Oh boy," mentally sighed the grown-ups. The Hokage then reached for the buzzer and addressed the secretary, "Send for Ibiki Marino and Anko Midarashi." The interphone buzzed back, "Yes, sir." 10 minutes later, both torture and interrogation specialists entered, causing an immediate reaction in the boy. "It's them. The scary Aji-san and Wani-san," Naruto pointed in surprise. Anko then burst into laughter. "Bwahahaha. Aji-san?" She directed at Ibiki, whose right eyebrow was now twitching at the woman and the blonde. Anko laughed for 5 more seconds until a light switch clicked in her mind. "Gaki, have we met somewhere?" she said with a wide grin that sent shivers down the man's spine, but the boy looked unfazed and was smiling with all his might. "Hokage Gigi, it's really her. Wani-san is Hibi-chan, snake with a cute suffix, with you?" he asked, making the woman look dumbfounded. "What Hibi-chan?" she asked, keeping the same look. "White Hibi-chan that stays with you sometimes when you scare the traitors in the basement of the hospital-like building," he said. "Oh, you mean Miki-chan? And wait a minute. How do you know about Miki-chan?" she asked, looking even more confused. The men were no different. "Well, I play with her sometimes when I'm not scaring the traitors that give you problems. Can I come and see Miki-chan? Please. 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 Please." "Alright, just stop nagging," she yelled and bit her thumb, doing a Kukios no Jutsu. Out of a summoning circle came a white cobra with sapphire blue eyes that was as big as ankle and as thick as an arm. It hissed and looked around the room, finding Naruto. It hissed in surprise, with an equal look. "Miki-chan," Naruto chirped and started jogging to the snake. The snake then took on a devious look and dashed towards the boy. Seeing this, the Hokage was about to jump to protect Naruto, but was too late, and the snake collided and coiled around the boy, making him tumble 2 times. When they recovered, they found a giggling Naruto with the snake rubbing the top of its head on the boy's right cheek with a smiling face, looking very contempt. "Haha! Stop that, Miki-chan! That tickles!" The boy was struggling to get the snake of him. The adults in the room had their jaws wiping the floor with the crows singing in the background. Ibiki quickly composed himself and then turned to Anko. Ahem, Anko, am I seeing correctly? Is Miki-chan the summon you trained for scaring interrogation vict prisoners cuddling and playing with a little child? He said with a little sweat forming on his face. Anko just nodded and came to the happy duo and separated them. She then looked directly into Naruto's eyes and asked. Alright Gaki, talk. When did you get buddy-buddy with my snake? She asked with a scary but not dangerous expression.